Prête en arrière? We're good? Okay. Donc, bienvenue tout le monde. Welcome everybody to the regular council meeting of, gosh, where did my, the 5th of May. It's already the 5th of May, goodness. 2025. Bienvenue tout le monde aux séances ordinaires du Conseil municipal de la Ville de Westmount pour le 5 mai 2025. I think we have a few updates from around the table, but I'm just going to begin because I was just reading an email before, and I think there's some concern that the PPU is being voted upon tonight for the southeast sector. That is not the case. That is not on the agenda tonight. So just to be clear for everybody that is not on tonight's council agenda. But I would like to, since you're all here and I have a captive audience, just reaffirm the importance of this PPU, of the Special Planning Program. We call it the PPU en français, the SPP in English, for the southeast sector of the city of Westmount. And after 12 months of reflection, listening, and dialogue with the community, this project is now entering the next stage. So what you will see is on May 27th at 7 p.m., there will be a tabling of the first motion, but the very important, 6 p.m. The very important date is June 18th, again at 6 or 7 p.m., Madame la DG? It'll be 6 p.m. on June 18th, where we will see sort of the next step of this program and where you will see a lot of the commentary from the public consultations and from the public and what you have written from various different people that you will see. What I believe you will see, hopefully, a lot of that reflected into the next stage. So June 18th is a very important date in the calendar. And I just would really like to reiterate that your voices have been heard throughout the process. Your concerns, ideas, and critiques have helped shape this project and influence its direction and strengthened its relevance. Your input has always mattered, always will, and your participation has been the driving force behind this initiative. So we thank you for that. And I know there are hundreds of people who have been engaged in this process throughout, so I just wanted to make that very, very clear because I think some people might have thought that this was being voted upon tonight, but that is not the case. Donc, I also wanted to say un gros félicitations Anna Gainey, our Member of Parliament who was elected last week, but also congratulations to all those who put their name on the ballot. And that's a very brave thing to do, and it's important for our democracy, and it's an important process, and I wish all the best to our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who has a daunting task ahead of him, but I certainly believe that he's up for it. So congratulations to Ms. Gainey, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. Donc, on va commencer avec les autres commentaires. Kathleen Kez, est-ce que vous avez un rapport?
I just have a little announcement that this Saturday, May 10th, the Centre Green will be celebrating its 35th anniversary. The celebration will include arts and crafts. There'll be a silent auction. There's a bake sale hosted by the incredible Ladies of Sandwich, live events and special guests. So all proceeds from the silent auction and the bake sale from the Ladies of Sandwich will go to help ensure all children get a chance to enjoy the camp experience at Centre Green. So that's where the funds are going to go towards. And all are welcome to join the celebration, which promises to be a fun, full afternoon of fun. So anybody who can come, please come. It'll be fun. That's it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Kez, Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a couple of announcements tonight. The first is if you didn't see the announcement in the Westmount Independent and you haven't been on our website recently, you may not know that we have a brand new website that has been is the product of many months of work by our communications and IT teams. We think it's a really big improvement on what was there before, and we invite everyone to come log on, have a look around, and do let us know what you think. We did also want to extend a hearty thank you to those communications and IT professionals, as well as all of the other members of the administration that worked very hard to improve the citizen experience on our website. From the Economic Development and Citizen Engagement points. We have engaged an organization called Rue Principale to make some recommendations on economic development strategies for the commercial sectors of Westmount, including an updated market study designed to help us understand present commercial dynamics and produce a portrait of supply and competition and evaluate demand. And now a survey is currently underway for all residents. You will be seeing it rolled out by our communications department in this week. It began yesterday, to allow us all an opportunity to give some feedback to these consultants as to what kind of improvements and changes we might be able to make to our commercial sectors to give our merchants and other businesses the best opportunities to grow and thrive and create new opportunities for businesses in Westmount. From the climate and environment matters, it's now May, and as you may have recalled from previous years, that means that we're going to hold back on cutting some of the grass in some of the areas in Westmount where we are going to participate in No Mow May. Until June, we're helping our pollinators by allowing early season flowers to grow on our lawns, in our parks, and in our green spaces. And this allows for more bees and other beneficial bugs to find food and to take shelter in the shady grass without mower blades chopping up their habitat. So there are going to be parts of Westmount, some of our parks and some of our green spaces, where you may find that the grass is a lot longer than it normally would be, and that's very much on purpose. We're not ignoring it. We're preserving it until June to give those bugs and other flora and fauna an opportunity to thrive. And we'd encourage residents to do the same. Let your grass grow, and the flowers and this we sometimes think of as weeds, like dandelions and white clover, until June. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that and not let everything go to seed, as it were. If you leave your grass clippings where you cut them, it's a natural food for the soil. If you do need to mow, but you bring up the height of your blades to 4 inches, this will protect most of the ground insect habitats. And of course, if you plant native perennials or white clover instead of grass, you'll end up with a lush and more eco-responsible lawn. One last thing. Sorry. One more thing. Landfill pickup is going to increase to 4 times a month for the summer period. When your trash is outside and being warmed by the sun, it will be picked up more frequently in the summertime. So between May 1st and September 30th, garbage collection is going to weekly for single-family homes and buildings with 12 to 8 units. And of course, moving day is coming, or if you're just doing spring cleaning, bulky item pickup is now back on. It is the second Tuesday of every month until October, but you do need to register in advance on the aforementioned website. If you do want your treasures that are going out into the trash to end up in good hands and not in landfill, we're also participating in a program this year called Trash to Treasure. It's run in cooperation with the Troche Foundation. From May 20th to June 2nd, if you come to our website and register, we will come, and you can do this you don't have to wait for once a month bulky item pickup. We'll do that every day, weekdays. From May 20th to June 2nd, you can register to have furniture, household wares, decorations, clothing, and other items picked up, and they will be brought they will be either redistributed in a community and charitable organization program or sold at community garage sales, and the funds will be going to charity. So don't let your stuff end up in the trash. Please make sure that those treasures get passed on.
Thank you, Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have quite a few announcements. It's a busy time of year for both sports and rec and our Public Works Department for the parks and green spaces. I'll start with sports and rec updates. As you may have seen in the parks after school on the weekend, last week and this past weekend, that our spring outdoor activities started last week and will continue until June 20th. Summer recreational activities, camp registration, and tennis and pickleball registration started last month in the middle of April, but there's still some spots left, so please check our website and register. There's lots of great things happening. Just to let you know that all the hard court for tennis and pickleball are open, and the clay court should be open sometime this week, weather permitting. The Desmarais ice rink was removed mid-April and has been prepped for the summer indoor activities. And I have a few calendar dates I'd like you all to remember. Please mark your calendar for this year's Family Day, which is scheduled for Saturday, May 31st. I hope to see you all there. Our pool is scheduled to open on June 2nd, and I'll plant it forward, but our volunteer appreciation event is scheduled for June 13th, and it's always a very special evening. Now to move on to parks and green spaces. As you can tell, if you've walked around the city, all our outdoor rinks have been removed and stored. And just to point out that the new outdoor rink that was in Westmount Park was a huge success. So I was happy to hear how that was received. And grass was cut on the athletic fields in preparation for marking and for the opening and for painting of the lines. The King George Park Pond has been cleaned and is ready to be filled. The Westmount Park Pond, you will have seen today that the western side is already full, but the eastern side, there's a small delay, or it's not a delay, we're planting vegetation on the island, and as soon as the vegetation's planted, we will be filling that part of the pond. The zip line and all the park toys have been reinstalled, and the new seasonal horticultural crews have been hired and have started already, and the city's starting to look cleaner and fresher, and the plantings will begin shortly. And Public Works has received and delivered trees for the traditional annual distribution, and they've started staking out trees for planting on public land. And lastly, the Doug Ellis Memorial Garden is progressing. It's expected to be completed at the end of May, and a dedication will be set for June. We don't have a date yet to announce. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. I'm just going to give you a couple of infrastructure updates. Last month, I think it was the 27th of April, Council had approved the tender for the Sherbrooke reconstruction project. It is a first of a multi-year project. It starts on the western border of Sherbrooke and goes eastward towards Grosvenor. And that work is planned to start in May, I think May 20th of this month. Now, what you might not have noticed too is it's a large project in terms of budget, almost $5.3 million, but it's not just a resurfacing project. So I know we hear often about what was done just west of us in NDG and east of us in Ville-Marie on the Sherbrooke side. And what they did is pretty much a bit of a scrape and repave. We're not doing that. We're doing something a little bit more invasive and more aggressive, but it also means that it's going to take longer and it will cost more money. But it's also not just the paving. We are reconstructing the sidewalks on the north side of the street, and we're doing partial repairs on the south side of the street. And a significant component of the works is an upgrade to the hydro distribution system, as well as the electrical system for the street lights. So again, it's not just a repave. It is we call it I think the word we used earlier today was a bit of a refresh, rehabilitation of sorts. But $5.3 million, large project, and it will start May 20th. And the first phase, we're hoping that it'll be done for July, but the works will continue through August. What is interesting about this project is that it will not shut down the traffic in both directions. Traffic will remain open in both directions, obviously constrained, and the buses will remain operational during this time as well. And particularly for this project, given the impact that it will have on the city, the contract provides for overnight paving. So that's something that we haven't done before, or at least not recently. But what it means is at nighttime, when hopefully we're all asleep, that the trucks will be out and the asphalt will be poured, and there will be less interference and less disturbance with the population. Those of us who live around there, it'll be noisier, probably a little bit smellier, but the advantage is they get in, they get out, and they do so quickly. So that's something that's different for this time around. And I will take the occasion too, because later on tonight we are going to be approving the Forden project, which is our second large project for the year. That is a reconstruction, a reconfiguration of both Forden Avenue and Forden Crescent.
Slight reconfiguration.
slight reconfiguration, but wider sidewalks and the like. But a few changes there, but that's going to be a large project. I believe that will start in the middle of the summer and take us through the summer. And then, of course, the balance of our large projects on the slate this year is the Claremont project. We will have more to report on that at a later date, which we will give you some more information on the scheduling and the scope of that work. So that's just a recap on our 3 road projects. for
And
the
just
summer.
on the Sherbrooke Street project, I think it's important to note, obviously, we've worked closely with the merchants, with the restaurants in the area, and we know that there are terraces that are very important to restaurants and their business in the summer. So you'll see that we're starting this, like Tronçon of Sherbrooke, this is phase 1 of 3. But it will start at Grosvenor and work backwards, because on the north side, there's 2 restaurants that have sort of what would be more permanent type terraces. And so we're trying to get out of there as quickly as possible for them to be able to put their terrace out by hopefully the beginning of July. We are aware of the impact, though, on the merchants and on the restaurants, and we will do everything we can to minimize that. Oh, Monsieur Chamy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thought today's milestone, as many of you have seen in the news, the 80th anniversary of the Canadians liberating Netherlands 80 years ago. And today we remember those who fought for peace and freedom. And as Westmounters, Quebecers, and Canadians, we share a responsibility to keep these veterans' stories alive, recognize the cost of war, honor their sacrifices that have led to the privileges and peace that we know today. As you all saw in the news, this 80th anniversary of the liberation of Netherlands, the parades and the Canadian flags and the young students going to meet with the veterans and the 100-year-old veterans who were there and the local community saying thank you after 80 years. This is a huge milestone. We as Westmounters should be proud. Our community has served incredibly, and I just thought, Madam Mayor, this milestone of 80 years is an important one to acknowledge, and I thought I'd take a moment to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Chamy. Councillor Roux.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, as usual, I will only give you little snippets of what's going on. There's so much going on at the library and events. Alors, c'est un peu des amuse-bouches que je vous donne, mais je vous encourage à aller sur le site web voir le menu parce qu'il est vraiment très exhaustif. Il y a beaucoup de choses qui se passent. So first exciting thing that I picked, Countdown to Kindergarten with Miss Sherry. So there's 4 Saturdays from April 26th to May 17th from 10:30 to 11:15. So if your child is starting kindergarten next year, you can join one of these sessions designed to help your child practice kindergarten skills through stories, songs, cooperative games, movement activities. Children will become familiar with routines, while parents gain tips to support their children's learning and independence. I encourage teenagers to drop in at the studio if you want to use the studio tech to boost your school projects, learn new techniques, skills, or create something unique. There's a lecture by Paul Kane's Travels in Indigenous North America on Wednesday, May 14th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the Westmount Room. C'est peut-être complet, mais je vous en parle quand même parce que je trouve ça tellement excitant et amusant. Alors, vous pouvez peut-être essayer, reste peut-être de la place. Alors, c'est pour les 18 ans et plus. Ça s'appelle Entomophonie. C'est de la musique électronique en direct de la bibliothèque. Alors, c'est le rythme caché du monde des insectes. Alors, c'est une expérience immersive hors du commun après les heures d'ouverture. Entomophonie est une performance de musique électronique en direct du compositeur, créée entièrement à partir de sons d'insectes recueillis en collaboration avec l'Insectarium de Montréal. Alors, c'est commandé par l'Insectarium et présenté en première à MUTEX. Ce spectacle unique en son genre explore l'étrange beauté et les rythmes cachés du monde des insectes à travers des paysages sonores expérimentaux et des enregistrements de terrains multiples. Alors, c'est... Oui. En mauvais français, on dirait que ça a l'air flyé, mais vraiment amusant. Alors, je vous encourage à y aller. Il Il y a aussi une conférence quand les peintres étaient orateurs. Alors ça, c'est jeudi le 29 mai de 7h à 9h p.m. C'est avec Philippe Gervais, qui est professeur au Conservatoire de musique de Montréal. Another one that has happened before, the mayor has talked about it. And
C'est le
it's
22 mai.
Le 22 mai. So on Thursday, May 22nd, from 7 to 9 at Victoria Hall, it's Let's Talk About Dementia. I haven't been, but it touches a lot of people in general, and it teaches
So for
family
those who
how to-
maybe attended the first one, it was sold out, so we're bringing them back. It's Dr. Moret and Dr. Gauthier and Claire Webster, and they are talking, I mean, they're world-renowned experts, but they are very gracious with their time and coming to share with the community some tips and skills and some information about, signs of dementia, but also how to care for loved ones with dementia. So it's, I think it's an incredibly important topic. So.
And there's so much to learn, and it's frightening when it starts and you don't know how to deal with the people surrounding you who might be affected by this. So great initiative. And then there's a concert, Hamtar, on Sunday, May 25th from 2 to 4 p.m. at Victoria Hall. This concert is for enthusiasts of Persian classic music. Anything else? Yes, lots else, but I think, oh yeah, of course, sorry, I can't miss that one. McIntyre Youth Vernissage, so the theme for the McIntyre this year is the view from my window. The vernissage will be on May 23rd, that's a Friday, from 4 to 6 p.m. Again, I encourage you to go on the website because this is just a little snippet of everything the city's offering.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Roux. Monsieur, Councillor D'Amico? No? OK, on va commencer avec la première période de questions. We'll start with the first question period, and then we will move, if we have time, we'll move to questions online. But it looks like we probably won't have time. So. And that those will have to be, so if you're listening at home and expecting your question, it may be in the second question period. Welcome.
Thank you. Oh, Karen Marks, Lansdowne Avenue. And I'm sorry, these are for health, not for effect.
Okay.
You kind of preempted part of my question. I'm glad to hear, because I became aware that there was money allocated, I think, last week at a special meeting to make some changes to the LeMay plan. And I was wondering, when will the next consultation be that residents who, I think all 480 of them who took the time to give feedback, when will they have a chance to see it and to give feedback before it has been, and I'm hoping it is before it has been decided, or that a notice of motion has been given?
So the notice of motion is, as you know better than anyone, is a step in the process, but is not the adoption, obviously. On June 18th will be when you will see the results of lots of the feedback and lots of the input, and there will be a public consultation that night. And it will not be, and then there's time for more feedback, and then the idea, the calendar would be to adopt then for later, a couple months later in September.
Okay, so there will actually be an opportunity, an open opportunity, not just specific groups.
Yes, well, there's always an open opportunity, there's always an opportunity for feedback. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to hear. I just wanted to make a small comment. I know it's a question, but I know that often some of us who have been here before are perhaps seen as wanting to keep everything the way it was. But I brought with me our designation as the National Historic Site of Canada. And I think that there's a good reason that we were identified as such. And I think that those of us who were here in the past felt we had to take what was, save it for the future, and hand it on to the next council. And I think that what residents are saying is that they would like you to do the same.
I think that you've seen a council that has a commitment to the heritage of this city.
So far, I think the plan is one that has caused a lot of concern. And,
Okay. Well,
you're
thank you for
aware of it.
coming, and thank you for your feedback, and I'm glad that I was able to clarify those dates for you. Next question.
Hi, good evening, Madam Mayor, City Councils, and everyone here. Just before I get to my,
State your name.
oh, yes, my name is, Callie Friedman. I grew up on Sunnyside. I currently live on St. Catherine in Melville.
Welcome.
So right near the park. Yeah, thank you very much. Just before I get to my question, I just wanted to say to Councillor Gallery, my grandparents, one of them are here. She lived on 4385 Westmount Avenue, opposite to the clock in the park. My mother also grew up there, and she told me that your father was a great mayor, so I just wanted to say that. Now to my question, because I do still live in Westmount. My mom still lives up there. I live on St. Catherine. At the last meeting, I expressed my concern about the safety at the four corners of Victoria and the Boulevard. And as you know, there's like major construction, lots going on there in Montreal right before Westmount. It's a little bit dangerous for the residents to cross over there. We have a lot of seniors. We do have a lot of students crossing. I'm following up because I do care, and I was just wondering when will or if the white crossing stripes will be painted on.
So, thank you very much for your question. And I know you had raised this last month, and as well, I've met with some residents of the area that have similar concerns because of the construction that's going on at that corner. It is obviously having an impact. Councillor Bostock can give you a bit of an update on TAC and how they're managing this request.
So we have our next meeting is on the 13th, so next week, Tuesday. I know that it's something that we have on the agenda. That corner is a tough one. And it's sort of a perfect storm right now because of the construction, because of the traffic. So I hear you. I totally sympathize and recognize that there's an issue. We'll definitely be addressing it. The line painting is coming. It's just they do school zones first, and they make the area, there's a progression of how that gets done, and it's all weather dependent. But the contracts are out, and they should be starting very soon if they haven't already.
Some areas have
I was
started.
gonna say, so
Okay.
it's coming.
Okay, thank you
It's
so
not
much.
a good answer, but it is.
It's something.
It's a
I
legitimate
appreciate it.
answer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next question. Question.
Julia Gersovitz de Maisonneuve, Beauvoir.
Welcome.
Thank you. Mayor and councillors, thank you for clarifying the dates as you did when Mayor Marks asked her question. I would just like to ask you one quite quick question, which probably has a longer answer. During the time of a PPU, it's always a delicate time with the possibility of land speculation. And in this time of affordable housing, when we have an affordable housing crisis, I should say, what steps has the city taken to ensure that the city lots will not fall victim to speculation? And so that's one question. What are you doing within the legislation to ensure that that does not happen? And second, how does the introduction of affordable housing into this sector jive with the vision that the city council and mayor have for the area?
Thank
So
you.
it's a two-part question.
Thank you very much for your question, and part of it may be followed up with a written answer. Councillor Peart, I think, wants to answer part of it.
Part of it I'll try to address. So, I mean, as I'm sure you know, there is a freeze on the entire zone.
Right.
Right.
I know that.
So I know you know, but I just want to make it a little bit more clear for everybody. The land that we own, we own. There's no designation. There's no commitment within the scope of the PPU as to what that land will be and at what time and what mechanism that land may or may not be transferred to a third party. So that is, it's not, it won't, I don't anticipate that it's going to be written into a regulation which restrict land speculation, but we have the cards in that respect, in the sense that a future council can decide what to do with that land. So
But you're binding it when you put the zoning on it.
we are binding it in terms of the use of that land
And its density.
and its density, absolutely.
Right. So you are binding it, but so then the second part of my question, Conrad, would be quite simply, how does the introduction of affordable housing into this sector with these very precious lots that I think are probably the last that the city owns, how has it been integrated into the vision that you wish to promote?
So I will answer your question with a bit of a question. Is there a presumption that council has taken a decision or a stance on whether or not affordable housing will be included?
I guess a simpler way to put it would just be to say, does this council envision affordable housing as part of its vision? Sorry, too many uses of the word vision, but you get the point of what I'm asking. Is it in the vision?
Yes. So council has not voiced a preference on the exact mix of the housing that's coming in this district.
Okay.
And so it may or
So it's not.
So it's not.
It's not is really the shorter answer.
Yes.
Thank you. We
Thank
will
you.
follow up with we can follow up with an email response on that as well. Mr. Dufour.
Good evening, Mayor Smith and fellow councillors. Richard Dufour from Anwath. I'm not sure if you've been following some of the recent news coming from Hydro-Quebec. In an attempt to diversify their sources of electricity, they're encouraging now solar panel use for several reasons. It's now becoming more feasible because solar panels are less expensive and more efficient, so it's now becoming a more feasible or economically viable source of energy. And they've announced that they're going to be subsidizing over 100,000 homes in the next 10 years to install these. I have two questions. Question number one, is Hydro Westmount going to follow suit? And secondly, if so, will our city relax the bylaws in terms of the PAC to allow for such installations on roofs?
To allow for, so we...
Solar power, solar panels on roofs. I'm not saying carte blanche anywhere, anyhow, any place, but if it's done responsibly, is that something that the city will favor?
So I obviously can't speak on behalf of all of council on it and can't declare that we're going to do that, but your point is very well taken. There is we do not have a program in place like Hydro-Quebec does at this point. But I'm assuming that you're recommending that we take on that program. Councillor Shammy or Councillor Peart, do you want to add anything else to this?
So as it stands, there's no prohibition on solar panels in Westmount. I have seen a project that's gone through PAC and has been approved with solar panels. What is also in the works is a change to our permits and certificates bylaws, and there is specifically a provision for solar panels in that bylaw revision. So it is not
Prohibited.
It's not prohibited, but now it'll be expressly permitted.
Good?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Councillor Shammy?
Just on that, I just think your comments are very well, are appropriate. We need to listen and heed them. And green energy use is yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So we must embrace it, engage it, and do something about it. So thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you. Just a final comment. Hydro Westmount has a lot, or has a way to go to kind of catch up with being more sustainable in terms of energy measures, just promoting smart thermostats and so on. We're really quite behind.
You are
Thank you.
accurate. Thank you. Next question.
Bonsoir, mon nom est Chantal Montreuil. J'habite le 4378 boulevard de Maisonneuve-Ouest.
Bienvenue.
J'ai deux questions. Alors, ça va pour des
Oui,
questions?
bienvenue.
La première concerne les cerfs-volants accrochés aux arbres. Je m'entraîne dehors dans les parcs de Westmount, surtout dans le parc Westmount. Et l'année dernière, j'ai remarqué qu'il y avait un cerf-volant d'accroché. Il est resté là tout l'été. C'est pas bon pour la faune aviaire, c'est pas bon pour les écureuils, c'est pas bon pour tout, là. Et puis d'un point de vue, quand on dit qu'on maintient nos infrastructures au niveau des parcs et tout ça, ben on souhaite que ce soit bien maintenu et tout ça. Alors là, c'est le temps. Il n'y a pas beaucoup de feuilles dans les arbres.
Oui.
Ça serait un bon temps.
Et c'est là encore.
Ben oui.
Ben oui, OK. Est-ce que vous pouvez envoyer un message dans quel coin exactement?
Oui, alors c'est près de la rue de Melville, en face, je veux dire, tout près de la Maison Blanche là, qui donne sur le qui fait
OK.
bon.
Melville et Melbourne.
Oui,
OK,
voilà.
c'est beau.
Oui. Ma deuxième question concerne
Merci
peut-être la
pour-
conseillère, merci, Elisabeth Roux, probablement, que c'est ton dossier, Elisabeth, la bibliothèque. Oui. Alors, j'ai rencontré Donna Lark il y a quelques semaines et puis elle m'expliquait, je lui disais que je trouvais ça curieux, là, qu'on est supposé être une ville bilingue. Ce soir, j'entends pas beaucoup de bilinguisme, mais bon, je vais essayer d'être positive par rapport à ça. Mais elle m'expliquait que les achats de livres pour la bibliothèque, puisqu'on reçoit une subvention du gouvernement du Québec, alors 40 % est alloué à des livres en français et 60 % à des livres en anglais. Ce que je constate à la bibliothèque, par exemple, présentement, il y a 3 panneaux qui couvrent les livres sur le jardinage, c'est la saison. Il y a un panneau où ce sont des livres en français et les 2 autres panneaux, ce sont des livres en anglais. Alors moi, je considère que c'est 1 tiers, 2 tiers et ça ne correspond pas du tout à la politique d'achat de la Ville, qui évidemment doit se plier aux réglementations du gouvernement parce qu'ils reçoivent une subvention. J'aimerais ça que ce qu'on voit reflète ce qui est effectivement dépensé, là. Alors, moi, j'aimerais qu'il y ait un effort de fait pour qu'il y ait plus de livres, que les collections de livres en français soient plus présentes dans notre bibliothèque.
OK, merci beaucoup pour vos commentaires.
Est-ce que je peux avoir une réponse?
Madame Roux, est-ce que je ne sais pas exactement le chiffre aux bibliothèques? Est-ce que vous savez?
Je ne suis pas au courant. Ben, en tout cas, vous avez, je suis pas habituée, mais on va se dire, il faut être poli. Alors, je te fais confiance pour le 40-60. Je devrais pas mal
c'est Donna
savoir.
qui me l'a dit, là.
Alors, on va faire confiance à Donna. S'il y a quelqu'un qui connaît ça, c'est Donna. Je veux dire, de ce que je vois de ce qui se passe à la bibliothèque, ils font un travail extraordinaire, puis leur mission, c'est de répondre à la demande. Alors,
je fais une demande.
Oui, non, mais s'il y a 1 tiers, 2 tiers, la réalité de notre communauté, c'est qu'il y a certainement 2 tiers, puis il y a beaucoup de francophones qui lisent en anglais aussi. Je sais que moi, j'aime mieux lire dans la langue d'origine où ça a été écrit. Probablement, toi aussi, ça t'arrive. Mais je pense qu'on répond à la demande quand tu vois ces proportions-là.
Par contre, quand on voit que le 40-60 au niveau des achats, 40 % francophones, 60 % anglophones, je comprends, mais j'aimerais voir ça comme une réalité.
Oui, mais elle est là, la réalité. Les livres sont là, ils sont juste pas ceux qui sont montrés en avant.
Voilà. Donc,
mais si tu le demandes, il va être là. Je veux dire, la disponibilité de livres qu'on a est hors du commun, là.
Merveilleux. Donc, je vais m'assurer, puis croyez-moi, c'est ma petite bataille à moi.
OK.
Alors, je vais veiller au grain.
Merci beaucoup pour les questions et les commentaires. Prochaine question. Next question.
Bonjour, je suis un étudiant qui travaille dans la ville de Westmount, sur Sainte-Catherine. Étant concerné... Merci, je m'appelle Égor. Je m'appelle Égor, E-G-O-R.
OK.
En étant concerné par la crise de logement, j'ai été ravi d'apprendre la connaissance du projet PPU de Westmount Sud-Est. J'ai bien aimé le fait qu'on rezone beaucoup d'espace pour du logement dense. Ça, selon moi, crée beaucoup d'unités de logement. Et justement, je voulais demander, pour savoir, c'est à peu près combien d'unités de logement qu'il y a présentement dans le secteur, question 1. Puis question 2, ça serait, évidemment, c'est pas comme un projet de développement concret, mais est-ce que vous avez une certaine attente par rapport à la quantité de nouvelles unités que vous espérez que le changement de règlement permettrait?
Donc,
You can answer in English.
Oui, mais j'ai pas le chiffre exactement. Puis quand vous parlez de le nombre qui existe, est-ce que c'est dans le PPU seulement, or are you looking for the southeast sector and like the below Dorchester as well? Like,
on va dire, on garde les.
so I can't give you an exact number if I don't and I wouldn't have it on hand, but I can certainly get it for you.
And it doesn't have to be exact, like a ballpark of in the borders, let's say, of the PPU. Let's keep it to the borders.
Alors, je ne connais pas le numéro exact, mais dans le périmètre de ce qui est proposé pour le PPU, il n'y a qu'un tour résidentiel Tout le reste, c'est commercial ou vacant. Alors, existant. Alors, c'est ça la base de comparaison. Mais quand même, le secteur est entouré par le résidentiel. Mais dans le secteur elle-même, il n'y a pas grand-chose en termes de logement existant.
Combien est-ce que vous espérez? Évidemment, pas besoin de nom concret.
Ça, c'est une bonne question. Je ne connais pas le numéro qui est prévu à date, mais quand même, pour un projet d'urbanisme, ce n'est pas un projet de construction. Alors,
Oui,
on n'a pas
c'est pas cette étape.
on connaît pas les bâtisses qui seront construits dans le secteur. On ne connaît pas la mixité de ces bâtisses. Ça se peut que c'est des unités plus petites, ça se peut que c'est une mixité des unités plus familiales. Alors, c'est pas que on connaît qu'il y a une bâtisse à 15 étages, à 20 étages, et il y aura une centaine de logements là-dedans. À ce stade-ci, c'est le fait qu'on ne travaille pas avec des projets, on travaille en termes d'une gabarit de construction qui permet dans le secteur.
Est-ce qu'il y a peut-être une estimation de potentiel maximal? Évidemment, ce n'est pas la réalité. La réalité est toujours plus dure.
On souhaite que ça soit le maximal qui sera acceptable, le maximal qui sera aussi, qui atteindra les seuils au minimum qui sont exigés par les gouvernements supérieurs que la nôtre.
Okay.
Puis on comprend bien aussi que la rue Sainte-Catherine, c'est pas la même chose que la rue Dorchester. C'est pas le même enjeu. Donc,
Okay.
on comprend ça.
OK.
Donc, merci pour vos questions. Prochaine question. Next question.
Bonjour, mon nom c'est Florence Thibaudot, je suis une étudiante à Concordia en art et je travaille à temps partiel dans un restaurant sur Sainte-Catherine.
Bienvenue.
Merci. I'll do the rest of my question in English because I've wrote it like that. So I wanted to ask about municipal finances and the local economy in regards to the PPU. My understanding is that the rezoning will allow for a lot of new income to the city as well as to the local economy. Once those towers have gone up, I'm guessing there will be a lot of new people that will be able to pay taxes, a lot of new jobs, and of course there's more property taxes with an actual housing than a vacant lot. We've heard a lot of calls in those reunions to lower the heights because of their negative impacts. But my question is, what would be the negative impacts of lowering those heights on the economy and local taxes? Would it be still possible to build the new pool if there's less people that can live in those towers? And what would be the impact on local jobs and housing prices, especially for young people?
Okay, so a very
Small question.
multi-step question, but I do thank you for I do thank you for asking it. Certainly, the goal is, the driving goal of this is to revitalize the area, especially in terms of, if you look at St. Catherine Street, the entrance into St. Catherine Street, and that area that hasn't seen revitalization in a very long time, to have that as a much more walkable, livable space that people actually want to open businesses and live in and walk in and feel safe in and be a beautiful gateway into the city. And that is very much the driving force behind this. And then obviously, surface parking lots is an issue that cities grapple with all the time, especially in urban settings that are close to, or essentially almost on top of the metro. And so, ideally that would bring more people, more housing, more mix of housing, more options for people that want to move out of their larger homes and live in an area where they can walk to everything. And to have that mix, I think, is very important for a community. And I won't get into specifically on the heights. Do you want to add anything on that? Or does anyone else on council who's also involved in this want to speak to this issue?
I can jump in a little bit just on I'll talk about the financial side of it just a little bit, because it's as you mentioned, it's quite complex. You talked about opportunities for improving the economy. So yes, if there are more people, if there are more retail spaces, then yes, there's more shopping. There's more economic potential in there. For the interest of the city, of the municipal, it affects us less. We don't collect sales taxes. We don't collect income taxes. What we do collect are property taxes, and we also collect taxe de bienvenue, so land transfer taxes. So in that regard, it is an opportunity to increase the tax base. At the same time, since the last census, we've lost 3% of our population. I think it's about 600 residents from Westmount, and we are the only, aside from, I believe, Kirkland, the only municipality that is on the decline in terms of population count.
In the CMM, in the greater Montreal area, we're the only ones that have declined.
So we have been progressively losing residents, and that means we are losing neighbors, we are losing people who are, I like to say we're losing roommates who are going to be paying the tab.
Yeah.
So adding more housing adds more residents. It adds more opportunity for property taxes. It adds more opportunity for transactional fees, and the transactional fees, they generate almost 10% of our income every year in revenue. It's not insignificant. Now, of course, what many of us often forget is because we are a constituent member of the agglomeration, that half of our taxes, right away, right off the top, go straight up to the mothership. So out of $1, maybe 51, 52 cents or so, go straight away. So we don't see those in the property taxes that we do collect.
Yeah.
So it means that we have to be really efficient with the way that our land converts into revenue. And again, to give you another example, the block just to the north of St. Catherine, so with Alexis Neon, with the, I believe it's called Chateau Westmount at the corner of Green and... No.
So from Atwater to Green Avenue on that block between the north side of St. Catherine Street and de Maisonneuve, that is what he's going to speak to.
Those blocks represent about 1.3% of the taxable area of Westmount. Yet it generates, if I'm going from memory here, so don't quote, it generates about 13.2% of the revenue. Mm-hmm. That is the engine, the economic engine of our city that allows the rest of us, it subsidizes the rest of us in our taxes. But just below St. Catherine, that land is not performing very well because the property is underdeveloped. We have parking lots. We have some of the land that is public institutions, so it's non-performing land. So all of this to say is that it's a very complex question which you bring to us, but there is opportunity there to impact the revenue that comes in.
Yeah. Just sort of thank you for your answer. And then in the interest of time, just because I see a lot of people behind you, yes, I encourage you to continue to participate in this process, though.
If I may, just...
Councillor Kez?
Yeah, I'm very happy you asked the question. There is a question of increasing revenue for our city, but I'm very much of the thought also we have to find the proper balance because we want a quality of life for our residents, past and future, current, a certain level of quality of life. So I'm very much not convinced of the height. I don't know what height. This is something that I'm perplexed with, but I do know that no matter what we build in that area, it's going to make money. There's nothing there now, so it can only get better. But the question is, what's our vision? And that's what we have to work on.
Councillors, Madame Mayor, thank you a lot for your answers.
Merci beaucoup. Next question, prochaine question.
Hi there. My name's John Van Tosh. I've been a resident on Chesterfield for 32 years, I believe.
Welcome.
And I recognize a number of faces up there, very friendly ones and very helpful ones. My subject is the least favorite one of all, which is the parking situation. We live in a particular block where we don't have off-street parking. We have to park on the street. So I wanted to get an update specifically about the Claremont project, which I understand has been redesigned now, but I was under the impression that it was going to start in May, but it sounds like that's not the case anymore. However, the Sherbrooke Street is going to start, and because because Chesterfield is really a primary alternative to parking for the commerce in the Victoria Village, it's close enough that many people park on our block. Any shrinkage or taking away of parking spots is a problem. For us, between the hours of, say, 11 and 4 during shopping hours from Monday to Saturday, if you need to park, it's almost impossible. So question one is if you can just update me regarding when is Claremont supposed to happen. Number two, you already said about Sherbrooke, and that's going to go on through the summer, so that's going to be disruptive. And what can you offer in terms of relief for the people who need to park on the street there during the work?
Yeah, I mean, so I think you're asking for some resident parking only zones or protection during the construction time?
No, I don't think so.
Is it, well,
So, Matt, I can
yeah,
jump in.
but I do think he's asking about his, but, and just to say, Claremont and
I don't know
Sherbrooke
where
are
I'm
going to
going to be
overlap
able-
by only a few weeks. They will overlap, though, but they will start at the top of Claremont and move their way down. And the long-term impact, the new configuration of Claremont will not remove any significant parking on that street and as a permanent thing. So you don't need to worry about the removal of parking on Claremont permanently. For sure, the Sherbrooke Street work and the infrastructure work that we're going to do there is going to have an impact in terms of on-street parking on Sherbrooke Street. So I know our engineering team is looking at parking impact on the neighborhood as well. So do you want to add anything to that?
No, Mr. Von Tosh, I suspect you may not have been aware that no change to parking, no shrinkage to parking is coming on Claremont.
How is that possible if there's fewer parking spots on Sherbrooke Street during the construction?
I think
Oh,
he's more
okay, so
concerned about the construction.
you're talking about the
of Sherbrooke.
construction period or going forward? Just during construction period?
Well, I really have two parts. One is the immediate impact of this work that does definitely need to be done.
So yes.
And what can be done to allow us to be able to, as residents, to be able to park our cars somewhere within a reasonable vicinity of the house during the construction.
Okay, so during construction.
And both projects, because Claremont, as you get down towards Sherbrooke, is obviously going to impact on the availability of parking as well.
So as a general rule, during construction, the engineering department is always cognizant that there's going to be local impacts to parking and for access to the residents. And on a project-by-project basis, they go through and they work with the residents. They establish temporary parking zones. They move people around. They might move it to the other side of the street. And so if we're just talking about during construction period, I am quite confident that the engineering team will assist such that the inconveniences that are caused to the neighboring residents will be reduced.
So we wait for someone to come to the house, or how do we?
We're going to have a.
How do we let people know that we're having an issue?
In the coming weeks, in the coming week, you will see an update with a very detailed communications plan on Sherbrooke Street and the projected impact and the timing and when they're moving. There's going to be 2 zones. It'll have all the details in there. It will also have a project manager that will be dealing with those issues on the street, and you'll be able to contact that person.
No, but will we have a residential permit or whatever you call it, similar to what they have around Springfield and around the Blenheim and around the arena, where only people who live on that street can park there?
So again, this will be dealt with in the overall management of the project. I don't think there is a plan to have only residents of Chester. It's not going to be a blue zone or an orange zone that you're talking about, but we will look at if we need to add more resident-only parking.
Well, in the meantime, if I can't find parking, what do I do?
There's
a lot of
I know. But I can't answer that question. It's a longer debate of access to the public domain, right? So it's,
Well, I did have a second part to my question,
Okay,
which
but
is the longer-term issue, but I already took up a lot of time, so I
Okay.
don't want to belabor that. All I need to know is how I can coordinate with the city to
So you will-
ensure
that
that
will
I
all
will
be-
have somewhere to park.
that will be very clear in the communication update that you're going to get, that you will see in the coming days.
Okay.
So thank you. And there'll be a contact person on there. Prochaine question, next question.
Hello, my name is Joyce Cornforth. I live at 4350 Sherbrooke. I probably wouldn't be here tonight, except that my husband, who is 93 years old, almost 94, sustained a whiplash injury just driving over the streets in Westmount. And our daughter lives on Belfrage Road, so we were taking the route along Côte Saint-Antoine, up Grosvenor, which is a minefield of potholes, by the way, and then up to her house. And it's really concerning for me. He's had to have physiotherapy for his neck because his back and his neck are being jolted all over the place with all the potholes. Now, years ago, Westmount was renowned for having the best streets in the city. Why are the roads in such a deplorable condition? And why is Forden Avenue and Forden Crescent going to be resurfaced before Claremont Avenue, where buses are constantly going, and where Grosvenor Avenue is a bypass for a lot of Westmounters to go over to Queen Mary Road? I don't understand that. So can you
I'm
tell
sorry
me
that
about
your
the road?
husband, I'm sorry that your husband sustained an injury, truly. Claremont and Forden are both being done this summer. So those projects, one is just being awarded, will start earlier, but both of those projects will get done in this construction season. And you're not wrong, the state of the roads is a very difficult issue that we year after year, we have increased the spending on infrastructure. We have also had to move to a point, for a very long time, we didn't borrow for these projects. We are now having to borrow in significant amounts just to address it. We're not getting it all done, and everybody around this table knows we're not getting it all done, but we are doing more work and more resurfacing and more rebuilding and more work. But there's a massive amount of work, not just on the top of the roads, but what's under the roads
Exactly.
is even more frightening.
Yes,
So,
but excuse me, though, Madam Mayor, why have they decided to do Forden Avenue
Because-
before Claremont, who has so much more traffic on Claremont
well,
Avenue?
the difference is a matter of weeks. It's not a matter of years. It's one project will start May 20th and one will start probably at some point in July. So they're not, it literally is a matter of weeks, but Forden Avenue is also in a deplorable state and has been bumped and should have been redone ages ago. And there's many, many roads like this. And so we're grappling with an infrastructure crisis that has not been seen for a long time. And it's largely because all of it is breaking at once. And so we have increased the spending, we have increased the work, we have increased the efficiency, we have increased the completion rate. But we know it's not enough. So there's difficult decisions to be made going forward.
Is it because we're not getting enough money from the City of Montreal to help us in these endeavors, or what? Where is the money
We don't get any
coming?
money from the City of Montreal.
Get nothing from the City of Montreal?
Just on some water.
Even though we give them half of our residential taxes, we get nothing from them for our roads?
We get
I
some
don't
money
think
for
that's
our
fair.
water networks. So thank you for your question.
All right, thank you for listening to
And
me.
I hope that your husband
Oh, he's better now.
is on the road to recovery.
Thank you.
Thank you. Prochaine question.
Bonsoir, Thomas Rollin, croisement Claremont, Westmount. Merci. J'aurais deux questions et c'est au sujet de la reconstruction de Claremont. Je voulais voir, puisque le projet a été, entre guillemets, cancellé, ou plutôt le call for tenders a été cancellé
Oui.
à la réunion du 10 avril. Vous avez mentionné qu'à la place, il y aurait le plan B, En quoi consiste le plan B? Alors, je n'ai pas besoin de détails, mais les différences majeures entre le scénario préféré et le plan B, si on pouvait voir un peu en quoi ça consiste.
Je vais commencer, puis peut-être le conseiller Peart, puis d'autres conseillers sont bienvenus de donner des commentaires. Mais le plan B, il n'y a pas un piste cyclable.
OK.
Donc, le piste cyclable n'est pas là, puis on ne fait pas des gros changements de configuration. Les trottoirs vont être un peu plus larges.
OK.
Mais à part de ça, il n'y a pas un piste cyclable. Avant, il y avait un piste cyclable qui était séparé. Maintenant, ce n'est pas un piste cyclable. Un jour, si des gens veulent un piste cyclable là-bas, c'est facile de mettre du peinture puis des bollards, puis vous pouvez avancer avec ça. C'est une décision pour le prochain conseil, mais pour le moment, la configuration, ça va être à peu près la même.
OK.
My first round of applause tonight.
Et la deuxième question, vous avez déjà plus ou moins répondu, c'est pour la date de commencement des travaux. C'est juillet, c'est ça?
Je ne peux pas donner une date exacte en ce moment, mais ce n'est pas au mois de mai ou au mois de juin à ce point, mais ça va être pendant l'été.
Oui, c'est cet été, quoi. Okay.
Oui, donc ce n'est pas un projet de 6 mois maintenant parce qu'on va faire des réparations, mais des grosses réparations, comme il y a une tramway là-bas. Donc, on va enlever tout ça, puis on va commencer en haut, près de Marianopolis, quand l'école est fermée, jusqu'au mi-août. Je pense que c'est comme mi-août que c'est ouvert. Puis on va descendre jusqu'à Lorraine.
OK.
Donc, il y avait une section entre Lorraine puis Sherbrooke. C'est une petite section qui va être refaite l'année prochaine. Donc, on va refaire, ou j'espère que c'est approuvé pour l'année prochaine, c'est Lorraine.
OK. Merci beaucoup, Madame.
Mais merci beaucoup et merci pour votre implication dans ce dossier. Does anyone else? Good. Next question. Welcome.
Good evening, Council and Mayor and Council.
Welcome.
As you know, I was on Council for 26 years and on the Planning Advisory Committee for many of those years. I was also on the Westmount Heritage Committee for 4 years.
I think just for the record, Cynthia Lullum.
Cynthia Lullum, 4550 St. Catherine Street West. There we go. My issue is architectural heritage preservation, and particularly mansard roofs being replaced with asphalt shingles instead of the original slate. The problem, as I see it, is Guideline 3, roofs. It was a problem when I was on council, and it continues. The guidelines are the tool used with the application of the PEA to review for permits. But Guideline 3 is a word salad of contradictions. It starts out by saying preserve all significant defining characteristics of an existing roof or part thereof, maintain a roof as long as possible, making repairs as required, when necessary, replace roofing materials or other features to match the original. But then it says, if possible, restore original defining roofing materials or other features that were removed from the building in the past. The next section goes on to say, this means that roofs play a particularly important part in defining the character of most Westmount buildings and the architectural character of the city as a whole. A roof is therefore considered to be a major defining characteristic of a building. That, I believe, reflects the objective that is supposed to be in Section 3, Guideline 3. But it goes on to 3.2, saying original significant roofing materials must be maintained and if previously removed, should preferably be restored. In all cases of roof replacement, higher quality materials, type A and B, listed to the right, must be used. Lower quality materials, type C, which includes regular asphalt shingles, are not generally acceptable. The materials listed include materials that I have never seen PAC approve in Section B.
Section B or Section C?
Section B. C is asphalt shingles, A is slate. B has other artificial slate tiles and the like that I've never seen PAC approve. As a matter of fact, we went back on some people in the day who used them. So the materials listed include materials I believe need review. The uses of the word if possible and should preferably leave an opening to bypass the intention of the guideline. So does Section 3.2.2 that says, on one hand, the intention on one hand, the material originality originally installed on the building must be installed, but then states that if a building had its original roofing replaced with type B or C, it can be re-roofed with type B.
So, not to go through all of the guidelines,
I'm
but
almost done.
I would encourage
So-
you to get to your question.
All right, so it goes on, and it at one point says that they could use type C. Black asphalt shingles do not harmonize. It talks about characters, it talks about the, noble materials. These contradictions and lack of clarity make it impossible for the Urban Planning Department to enforce what was the intention. And I urge Council to review this section as soon as possible. I know a total review of the guidelines is planned, but surely this one section could be rewritten to reflect its true intent. I've seen several cases of replacement of asphalt shingles, shingle mansard roofs with new asphalt shingles in the past year, just in my little neighborhood, but they were all given permits to do it. The latest, and unfortunately, house that I saw that did exactly that, replaced their asphalt mansard shingles, is the home of Councillor Kez on Dorchester. Not only was her roof not replaced with slate as originally it was built, being an 1890s building, but the wood window surrounds appear to have been replaced with what looks like sheet metal product.
So,
How was this allowed? There
I'm
was
not
a
going to get
permit.
into any
Not
specific.
particular, but I just want to say it's happening, and I would like to see it stopped. And I'd like to know why a sitting councillor is not the standard bearer for the architectural heritage preservation. Why not use the noble materials for which Westmount is known?
So
Set the example.
So again, I'm not going to get into any specific permit application or specific case, but
But I believe I can ask Councillor Kez why she did not put a slate roof on her house.
First of all, I didn't apply for a permit. My brother, who's half owner of my home, applied for a permit.
But you own the other half.
So
I own the other half. He
Okay.
applied for the permit.
this is
And
we're not going to get into.
But will
I
you
think the
look-
gist of your commentary, because we're not going to get. I never discuss specific.
I understand. But will you look at the guidelines, please? I mean, if it's being done on council, it's going to be done by everyone. There's four more houses on Dorchester.
So
that
there
could do the
there
same.
is an opportunity to, there's certainly an opportunity to look at it, to make it clearer. We had dealt with this around windows as well, that there was sort of a second paragraph that didn't.
Yep.
So certainly, I leave this with, we'll discuss this at council, but also the PAC committee can,
Please.
can certainly review, but thank you for your commentary.
Thank you.
Next question.
Jessica Winton.
Welcome.
I wasn't planning on asking this question today, but thought it was relevant given the other questions.
Welcome.
In order to make housing and rent more affordable in Westmount and transparent for tenants, especially given hopefully soon the upcoming Southeast redevelopment, is Council willing to implement a mandatory rental registry within the city? And speaking of mandatory measures to make housing more affordable, will Westmount align itself with the City of Montreal's currently suspended 2020 rule and to completely eliminate the option for developers to pay fines in lieu of developing affordable housing, family housing, and social housing? Having spoken to some members of council about this, I wonder if there will be any action, as you're all individually capable of voting on this without the motion being passed unanimously.
So thank you for your question. Thank you for your commentary. And thank you for being involved in particular around the Southeast sector and being a voice of those who are looking for more housing options within our community. I fully support a rental registry. Council voted upon that as a full support for it. It wasn't unanimous, but I fully support it because knowledge is power. And it doesn't constrain a landlord from increasing the rent. They can still do that. They're still able to do those things. But it gives knowledge to the renter where when we're seeing massive increases, obviously when overturn, when a student leaves and a new student moves in and the rent increases by 25%, that is unsustainable for a younger population or students that are trying to move into these places. I absolutely fully endorse a rental registry. And I think many on council do as well. And knowledge is power. So it doesn't constrain them from raising their rents, which is what they would tell you.
And the second part of the question?
Which was?
The 2020 rule?
Well, so that's largely been abandoned by Montreal,
It has, but
right?
it's because it's been a failure of developers just being able to opt out and pay fines.
Yeah, which is
and-
what we saw over at the children's site, which is not at all what we're looking for in Westmount and is not at all part of the vision. But I think what we are looking for is more access to housing, is to have more people living within this community of all ages. And I really do think there's an opportunity in this area for that. Do you want to add anything to that? Or anyone else?
I'll just jump in on the rental registry because I've unequivocally support that initiative. Later on tonight, we're going to be going through the list of duties on transfers where every single housing transaction is public record.
Mm-hmm.
So if you buy a house, it's public record. But if you rent a house, shouldn't it be public record? Shouldn't it be part of the public registry as well? So why are homeowners or property owners privileged over renters? It's an asymmetry of information, and it's a simple fix. And so, yes, I do endorse that unequivocally.
I'd love to see some action on it.
Thank you. Matt? Or sorry, Councillor Aronson.
No problem. I just wanted to say that we have heard from you, Ms. Winton, and from others in the audience tonight, the community need and the voices of the community expressing that affordable housing is got to be part of this plan. And I, for one, am happy to say that it's something I would be championing when I discuss this with our colleagues. I think there's going to be many people at this table that agree that creating a new vision for this area and not thinking about how that vision will be interpreted by those who have the power to actually build and develop this future housing would be a lost opportunity. So that's something that I think I'm not the only person at the table for sure, but if you are worried, if you're considering the idea that like, wow, maybe they're going to do this PPU and there won't be any discussion or consideration of what we do for housing affordability, I can assure you there will be a discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's just, I mean, to reiterate, there's so many, they may not be writing columns in the Gazette, but there have been so many people, in particular young people, that have expressed their concern about this and have expressed the desire and want to stay in this community, to be able to live in this community, or for their parents to be able to continue to live in this community, to live in a place where you have incredibly strong public institutions that you can walk to if you have a family here. And that's a driving point in terms of the vision certainly for me, and I think shared by most of council. So thank you. Bienvenue. Prochaine question. Je sais que c'est long maintenant.
Pardon?
I know. So these are the last questions here, because then we have to move online. Donc, bienvenue.
Ça va être rapide.
Oui, bienvenue.
Donc, Lucien Savard, Clermont. Je pense qu'après au moins 4 années d'intervention à propos de rénovation à faire sur Clermont, enfin, je vois que l'action est prise. Je suis soulagé.
Oui.
J'avais un commentaire à formuler avant de poser une question. Le commentaire, c'est à l'égard de M. conseiller Jeff. Je suis impressionné que vous avez apporté ce point-là. Moi, je suis un fils de marin, d'officier de marine qui a fait la Deuxième Guerre mondiale, qui a servi sur HMCS Fredericton, HMCS Donnacona. On est 5 enfants. Je peux vous dire qu'on a vécu, nous, le syndrome post-traumatique de mon papa. Et c'est des choses qui sont oubliées. C'est des histoires exceptionnelles, ce que ces jeunes hommes-là ont fait dans le nord de l'Atlantique. Ça, c'était mon commentaire. Ma question. Je suis sensible à l'aspect patrimonial des immeubles de Westmount. Et j'apporte à votre attention que moi, j'avais vraiment été déçu quand, pour accommoder la Canadienne, la boutique La Canadienne sur Sherbrooke, on avait dévisagé l'immeuble à lucarne pour permettre d'accommoder les besoins de la Canadienne comme vitrine. Là, je vois que Café Donato, ces choses-là, ça se passe derrière porte close. Café Donato, ils ont installé toute une structure. Je veux juste m'assurer que Café Donato
Spetino, c'est celui-là de Spetino, sur le côté sud?
Oui, côté sud, oui, exactement.
Oui.
Juste m'assurer qu'il n'y aura pas une détérioration de l'aspect patrimonial de la bâtisse pour accommoder Café Donato.
Donc, c'est café, c'est comme c'est pas tout le monde savait, c'est au coin, tout près de Victoria et Sherbrooke. Je pense qu'il n'y a pas de gros changement du façade, c'est à l'intérieur qu'ils vont faire des changements là-bas.
Vous pensez, vous êtes certaine?
Je suis presque 100% certaine, mais je vais laisser M. Peart qui est sur la...
Moi, je le sais, mais le fait que c'est une demande privée, je ne sais pas si je peux commenter là-dessus sur le contenu d'une application, d'une demande d'une tierce partie privée. Mais tout cela pour dire que c'est ce qui est arrivé avec la bâtisse la Canadienne. Ça nous précède tout le monde sur le Conseil. Ça précède le CCU, le pacte de ce jour-là.
J'étais sur le Conseil, mais comme j'étais le conseillère.
Excuse.
La mairesse était du Conseil.
J'étais pas la mairesse.
C'est ça. Mais c'est pas quelque chose qui devrait se répliquer.
Merci.
Merci pour votre question et vos commentaires. Next question.
John Breslaw, Grosvenor.
Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. These are two short questions. The first to Matt Aronson. The new website is obviously new, so it's a work in progress. When I wanted to go and make a suggestion, where's the search engine for bylaws type thing, I couldn't find an easy address for the webmaster. Can you put, either tell me the address or more effectively, on the opening page, a help link to the webmaster so that people can go and say, hey, this needs an update. Thank you.
That commentary is noted, yeah.
Easy one, right, for change?
In general, if ever you are looking for, well, first of all, there's a search engine in the top left-hand corner. And so anything that's on that site, if you're looking for it and punch keywords into that top left-hand corner in the search, it will come up. If you find, oh gosh, it's just not there, the best thing to do is to email assistance@westmount.org with your request. In fact, this is really a general rule for any time you're like, I don't know who to ask about this thing in the city. That's our central hub for all information distribution throughout the administration, and they will absolutely make sure that your request gets into the hands of the right person in the communications department in order for it to be made a reality.
Okay, so basically, assistance@westmount.org is what I need. A good idea is to put it on the web, or put it on the...
It's on there, but nevertheless.
I couldn't find it. Okay, second question. As you pointed out, Madam Mayor, we are borrowing a fairly large amount of money compared to what we did in the past. In the March Council meeting, a question was asked, and I guess we're going to get the answer today under Section 8. What is the level of debt that we currently have?
Councillor D'Amico, do you want to add? That will be, all of
So
those numbers will be published.
You took the surprise out.
Into the mic.
So I was going to answer the two most frequently asked questions. The number one is the debt. The answer is $12,977,897. You'll find the reference at page S25 of the unaudited section of the financial statements, and it's at page 5.
Perfect. That was a lovely answer. One of the interesting questions of why are the roads so bad type thing when we used to have is, as you pointed out exactly, we pay half our taxes to the agglomeration and we get very, very little back in return. And that is really a political question. Now, I asked and received from Madame Paul here that we are mise en cause with Beaconsfield in the challenge to the way that the Agglomeration Council is operating. Beaconsfield is asking for $20 million back, and we all have the same problem. And the question that I think I'm asking here is, it's a political question, so it needs a political response, which means a lot more visibility, not just from Beaconsfield, but from all the demerged.
So I can answer that. First of all, just to go back to the roads.
It's not your fault.
The situation with the roads is obviously a very complicated one, and it's you can't just say, well, you know, whatever. There's many aspects of it. Underground, above ground, deferred maintenance is let's be honest, that's a big part of the issue. Deferred maintenance on buildings that then suck away resources from roads and things like that we've had to deal with, and increasing how there's a balance here. If we had increased our taxes by 75%, we could possibly be doing more roads, but we obviously have to find a balance within the residents and what they can accept. What they won't accept is the current state of the roads. So we have to do more. We have to pave more and probably reconstruct less, which is also a shift, which is not the best way forward always, but there are certain roads that certainly can't sustain that going forward.
Agreed.
On the Aglo side, Beaconsfield has this different approach. I can't say that it's working because it is not, at this point, proving to be fruitful for them at all. They don't have any other supporters of demerged cities in this lawsuit with them. And in fact, if they were to win this lawsuit, Westmount would pay more. So we believe, and I say this, Montreal West, TMR, Pointe Claire, Dorval, that the approach to this is a political one, which doesn't really come out of Montreal. Why would Montreal say, yes, I would love for you to pay less and for my residents to pay more? Because currently they can put a lot onto the Aglo and get almost a 20% discount for it. Where the answer will lie is with the province and how they deal with all the agglomerations throughout the province of Quebec. And so we have been working tirelessly, led by the ASM, to try and get them to move forward on this. But everybody likes to pass the buck. They'll say, go talk to Montreal. Montreal says, well, I don't really need to talk to you because this is the agglomeration. These are the rules that have been set out. I know that it seems, some of it is very valuable. Obviously, police is valuable. Water is valuable. Fire is valuable. Public transit. Use public transit because you're paying $15 million for it. So it is, I don't think, but there was a decision to, take that off our tax bill. So people don't necessarily see that chunk of change that goes to Montreal. So it is, it's why I think a change of government, certainly the current provincial government doesn't really like any city, let alone us. So I could go on and on, but I'm sure people don't want to stay here all night. Thank you for raising it, though, because I think it's very, very important, and it's not an issue that a lot of Westmounters tend to raise with us, but it is, it's where I spend a significant part of my time. Yeah. Okay, now we will go to the last question before we move into the main part of the agenda. So,
Virginia Elliott, 164 Hillside.
welcome.
Thank you. April 1st is usually the date that the bollards go up on the bike paths. When are they going to go up? Because we've had assurances from the DG that they would go up, but they haven't gone up, and it's now into May. And driving along the Glen and de Maisonneuve is scary enough with the bollards. So why is it taking so long, and when will they go up?
I don't have a date for you. I don't know if it's connected to the line painting, but I will find an answer for you because I think we have to paint the lines first.
Actually, in the past, they've painted the lines after the bollards go up.
Okay, I will find an answer for you. I can't give you one right now.
Okay, and just last question is, can we do something about, speaking of beautiful entrances into Westmount, Green Avenue? You've got graffiti on the wall, you've got a vacant lot on the left with overgrown grass, and
You're talking about Green at
St. Antoine, coming up into Westmount, and you've got a ugly big block of some electronic sign that sometime, somehow, someday might be functioning. Is there anything we can do to make this better? Because I know that when they redid the Turcotte, they had planted vines. I mentioned this to Councillor Aronson last year and this year. They planted vines to supposedly cover the walls so that there would be less temptation for the graffiti.
Yeah.
Those vines have died, and it would be nice to have maybe some new plantings.
Okay.
And grass cut maybe in that vacant lot, which...
Yeah, which used to be the Selby Park. I will make sure that those are noted. And we do have a way to report graffiti, as you know. You can go online and report the graffiti.
Yeah.
But that is part of the Turcotte, and
MTQ.
the MTQ cleans that graffiti.
Once a year, yeah. But if we put vines up in front of it, it would be at least not as visible. Because it is an entrance into the city, and it is definitely not beautiful. And will that sign eventually be functioning?
The sign above the
No, on the
underpass?
right that's been installed that supposedly will be electronic.
Oh, yeah. I assume it's going to be functioning, but I don't have an answer for the date for that either.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Puis on va passer au... Est-ce qu'on fait les questions en ligne maintenant? C'est tard? Ou est-ce qu'on... Okay, we are going to move into the regular part of the agenda, and we will do the online questions at the end of the evening. Donc, l'adoption de l'ordre du jour, c'est le conseiller Gallery, numéro 4.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je propose que l'ordre du jour de la séance ordinaire du conseil municipal du 5 mai 2025 soit adopté.
Merci beaucoup.
Avec l'addition des 2 items additionnels, numéro 34, correction, appel d'offres sur invitation, entretien des plateaux sportifs, et numéro 35, nomination surintendant au service des travaux publics.
Merci beaucoup. Appuyé par le conseiller Bostock. Tout en faveur? Numéro 5, approbation des procès-verbaux. Encore, c'est conseiller Gallery.
Je propose que les procès-verbaux des séances ordinaires du conseil municipal tenues le 7 avril 2025 soient approuvés.
Merci beaucoup. Appuyé par le conseiller Aronson. All in favor? Carried. 6.1, la correspondance. So there's a lot. So I will read them. I have to read them all off into the record. So be prepared for this is a very long list. Les documents suivants sont déposés. La liste des règlements adoptés le 17 avril 2025 à l'Assemblée ordinaire du Conseil d'agglomération, la résolution 04802-2025 de la municipalité de Sainte-Christine appuyant la modification de l'article 226.2 du Code de la sécurité routière, la résolution 04502-2025 de la municipalité de Sainte-Christine dénonçant au gouvernement du Québec en lien d'absence d'ajustement financier de certains programmes destinés aux municipalités en raison de la situation économique actuelle, la résolution 2025-03045 de la municipalité de Notre-Dame-de-Bon-Secours concernant les enjeux de camp de jour, Resolution 2025-03-042 of the municipality of Notre-Dame-de-Bon-Secours to amend Section 226.2 of the Highway Safety Code, Resolution 25-03071 of the municipality of Val-des-Monts supporting the municipality of St. Christine for the amendment of Article 226.2 of the Highway Safety Code, Resolution 103-04-2025 of the municipality of St. Helens supporting the amendment of Article 226.2 of the Highway Safety Code, Resolution 051-03-2025 of the municipality of Saint-Rémy supporting the amendment to Section 226.2 of the Highway Safety Code, Resolution 2024-04164 of the City of Beauharnois supporting the City of Blainville and its Bill 93, an act respecting, among other things, the transfer of ownership of an immovable from the City of Blainville. La résolution 2025-04-163 de la Ville de Beauharnois dénonçant au gouvernement du Québec l'absence l'ajustement financier de certains programmes destinés aux municipalités en raison de la situation économique actuelle. La résolution 105-04-2025 de la municipalité du Lac-Simon dénonçant au gouvernement du Québec l'absence d'ajustement financier de certains programmes destinés aux municipalités en raison de la situation économique actuelle. La résolution 25-03-072 de la municipalité de Val-de-Monts appuyant la demande déposée par la Fédération québécoise des municipalités, FQM. Goes on for a couple more pages. La résolution 2025-02-046 de la municipalité de Saint-Christome concernant les enjeux des camps de jour, la résolution 2025-03-3646 de la municipalité de Notre-Dame-de-Pont-Main appuyant la municipalité de Saint-Mathieu-de-Belleuil pour les enjeux des camps de jour, la résolution 106 RS 0325 de la municipalité de Saint-Émilie d'Énergie concernant les enjeux des camps de jour, la résolution 062-0325 de la municipalité de Saint-Zénan concernant les camps de jour, la résolution 048-0325 de la municipalité de Saint-Zénan dénonçant au gouvernement l'absence d'ajustement financier de certains programmes, Resolution 2025-0366 from the Municipality of La Concepcion, supporting the FQM with respect to day camp challenges. Resolution 2025-0310-063 from the Municipality of Barut concerning day camp challenges. A letter concerning the declaration of tonnage distribution 2024 via the programme sur la redistribution aux municipalités de revenance pour l'élimination des matières résiduelles, le ministère de l'Environnement, de la lutte contre les changements climatiques, de faune et de parcs. Certificat de publication de la Ville de Montréal des règlements 02-002-47, 23-02-04047, 252, 24-030 et 04-047-269. Le règlement 04-047-252 de la Ville de Montréal modifiant le plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal relativement au immeuble de Nordalec. Bylaw 04047269, the City of Montreal, amending urban plan of the City of Montreal. Resolution CG 250229 of draft bylaw PRCG 140298, entitled Règlement modifiant le schéma d'aménagement de développement de l'agglomération de Montréal. Le règlement RCG 14029, règlement modifiant le schéma d'aménagement et de développement de l'agglomération de Montréal, RCG 14029. L'avis de motion et dépôt de projet de règlement modifiant le schéma d'aménagement et développement de l'agglo de Montréal, RCG 14029. Le tableau indicatif de la nature de modification du projet de règlement modifiant le schéma d'aménagement et de développement de l'agglomération de Montréal, RCG 14029. Councillor Gallery, le procès-verbal du comité plénier.
The minutes of the General Committee of Municipal Council meetings held on January 13th, 2025, February 3rd, 2025, February 17, 2025, and March 17, 2025 are tabled and available on the city's website.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor, are they tabled? Yes, sorry. Item number 6.3 is Councillor Bostock, procès-verbaux du comité consultatif sur les transports.
The minutes of the Transportation Advisory Committee meetings held on January 21, 2025, and February 10, 2025 are tabled and are available on the city's website.
Thank you. 6.4, c'est le procès-verbal de la Commission des finances et de l'administration. Conseiller D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Les procès-verbaux de la rencontre de la Commission des finances et de l'administration tenue le 27 novembre 2024 et le 26 février 2025 sont déposés.
Merci beaucoup. 6.5, c'est le procès-verbal du comité consultatif pour l'environnement et développement durable. C'est conseiller Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The minutes of the Environmental and Sustainable Advisory Committee meetings held on September the 17th, 2024, November the 5th, 2024, December 9th, 2024, January 7th, 2025, and February the 4th, 2025 are tabled and available on the city's website.
Merci beaucoup. 6.6, le rapport de la main-d'œuvre. Conseiller Chamy.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Le rapport de la main-d'œuvre pour le mois d'avril 2025 est maintenant déposé.
Merci. 6.7, registre des paiements. Conseiller D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The list of payments for the month of March 2025 is tabled.
6.8, liste des approbations en vertu du règlement 1507. Councillor Chamy.
In accordance with Bylaw 1507 on the delegation of powers to certain employees of the City of Westmount, the list of authorization of expenditures for the month of March 2025 is now tabled.
Thank you. 6.9, Councillor D'Amico, list of duties on transfers and invoices.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. La liste de facturation des droits de mutation pour le mois de mars 2025 sont.
Merci beaucoup. Item number 7, payment of share to guarantee fund to Union to the Union des municipalités de Québec. Ça, c'est Councillor Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I propose that the amount of $107,867.76, taxes included, be paid to the Union des municipalités du Québec for the payment of the city's share to the Guarantee Fund for Primary Civil Liability for the period from January 1st, 2025 to January 1st, 2026, and for UMQ's professional fees, whole in accordance with the Financial Information and Decision-Making File number 5113.
Merci beaucoup. Item number, that is seconded by Councillor Pearce. This is standard. Do you want to add any commentary onto our UMQ fees? No? All in favor? Carried. Item number 8 in the finances section, ça c'est dépôt de rapport financier pour l'exercice financier 2024. I'm going to hand it over to Councillor D'Amico, who's going to give some commentary on what's in the numbers, which you will be able to find on our website now. So
Merci,
over
Madame
to
la
you,
mairesse.
Councillor D'Amico.
Oh, excuse-moi. Merci, Madame la mairesse. Donc, le rapport financier de la Ville de Westmount concernant l'exercice financier 2024 est déposé conformément à l'article 105.1 de la Loi sur les cités et villes.
Merci beaucoup.
Do I read?
Well, no, because you're going to read your commentary now. So seconded by Councillor Peart.
C'est seulement déposé, il n'y a pas besoin de vote.
Okay, déposé. So now I would read your commentary that will give some explanation as to what is on the website.
Donc, conformément à l'article 105.2.2 de la Loi sur les cités et villes, j'ai le plaisir de vous présenter les faits saillants du rapport financier de la Ville de Westmount pour l'exercice 2024. Dans un contexte économique exigeant, la Ville a su faire preuve de rigueur, d'adaptabilité et d'une saine gestion, confirmant une fois de plus la solidité de ses finances et de sa capacité à répondre aux besoins évolutifs de la communauté, tout en maintenant des services de qualité. À nouveau, cette année, la firme Deloitte a réalisé l'audit indépendant des états financiers de la Ville de Westmount pour l'exercice 2024. Conformément aux normes comptables canadiennes pour le secteur public, les NCSP, les auditeurs ont évalué les risques de fraude et examiné les contrôles internes en place. À l'issue de cette analyse rigoureuse, ils ont conclu que les états financiers reflètent fidèlement la situation financière de la Ville au 31 décembre 2024. Deloitte a émis une opinion sans réserve. In 2024, the city's total revenues, including Hydro Westmount, reached $138.5 million, 2.7% above our budgetary forecasts. Property tax revenues, the city's main source of funding, reached $106.36 million, which is perfectly in line with our forecasts. The city collected $12.38 million in transfer duties in 2024, representing 3.2% more than forecast. This result is thanks to a tiered taxation system that optimizes revenue whilst maintaining fairness for taxpayers. Revenues from parking meters and permits reached nearly $3.97 million, a 13.4% increase made possible by efficient equipment management. In addition, fines generated nearly $2.7 million, up 39%, notably due to the revision of certain tariffs. Revenues from our cultural, sports, and leisure activities exceeded our forecast by 22%. This result reflects the dynamism of our community life and the relevance of our service provision. You will note that administrative revenues, for their part, recorded an exceptional increase of 642%, attributable to the cashing in of a letter of guarantee related to a project where the works were not carried out. Hydro Westmount's operating costs remain stable, except for electrical purchases from Hydro Quebec, which amounted to $24 million, $452,725 more than anticipated, due to a tariff increase decided by the Régie de l'Énergie. The expenditure for the various city services amounted to $18.6 million, or 6% less than our budgetary forecasts. With an allocated budget of $12.14 million, the Public Works Department represents the largest share of municipal expenditures at approximately 65%. Actual expenditure, however, amounted to $11.5 million, resulting in savings of over $634,000. This performance is mainly due to milder winter conditions in 2023-2024, which reduced snow removal costs. A significant portion of the positive variances observed in departmental expenditures stems from non-recurring projects or projects spread over several years, such as the revision of the urban planning and regulations or the cadastral reform. These initiatives are financed from the accumulated surplus, thus the unused amounts remain available for the continuation of these projects without affecting the property tax bill. These results demonstrate our constant commitment to financial balance without compromising the quality of services. En 2024, la Ville a réalisé pour 26,5 millions de dollars de travaux en immobilisation, atteignant ainsi un taux de réalisation de 75 %. Ce taux de réalisation, un excellent résultat dans le contexte municipal, fait à souligner 13,2 millions de dollars de ces investissements ont été financés comptant pay-as-you-go, en montant très proche du budget prévu de 13,8 millions de dollars, le reste ayant été couvert par le surplus accumulé et le financement à long terme. Parmi les projets dont nous sommes particulièrement fiers figurent la réfection de l'aire de jeu et remplacement des luminaires des terrains sportifs au parc Westmount, la réfection du boulevard Dorchester, la reconstruction de l'aqueduc sur l'avenue Upper Lansdowne, l'aménagement du Makerspace à la bibliothèque publique ainsi que la restauration du Mess Hall, un bâtiment stratégique pour les opérations de la ville. Les résultats financiers de l'exercice 2024 sont la preuve de notre engagement à gérer les fonds publics avec rigueur et transparence, dans le seul intérêt de la communauté. La solidité de nos finances et la qualité de nos services sont le fruit d'un effort collectif que nous tenons à souligner. Le rapport financier 2024 ainsi que les états financiers vérifiés sont transmis au ministère des Affaires municipales et de l'Habitation, la MAMACH, et rendus disponibles sur le site Web de la Ville. Merci. Donc, je tiens vraiment à remercier le service des finances avec la même vitesse que quand je critique quelque chose, d'un excellent travail. Donc, ce n'est pas évident, le travail des finances, quand on a les états financiers comme tels. Il y a toujours des normes qui changent. Puis, c'est vraiment un rapport sans réserve. Donc, je félicite vraiment le directeur des finances, toute l'équipe des finances et la directrice générale de la Ville de Westmount. Un travail vraiment exceptionnel. So I want to take this opportunity. I want to take this opportunity with the same speed as when I criticize finance to, congratulate finance on a job well done, especially the entire finance team, the director of finance and the city's director general for an audited statement without any reserve. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur D'Amico. Okay.
Okay, I wanted to answer the two most frequently asked questions. I've answered the first one, which was the debt. I wish to answer the second question, which is always usually regarding Hydro Westmount. And the second most frequently asked question is, did Hydro Westmount lose money? So the answer will be found on the unaudited statements at page S48, subparagraph 11. So Hydro Westmount has a net income of $1.716,954,000, up from last year's number of $847,317. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Merci beaucoup, and you will find all of that information online, and I too congratulate the finance team and the Director General under the Director General's leadership for this important step. So thank you very much. It does not require a vote. So now we move on to contractual matters. Item number 9, l'ajout de fonds de contrat pour la conversion et la migration de logiciels ICO-RAO Police Web. Et ça, c'est le conseiller Chami.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the contract awarded to ICO Technologies, Inc. for the conversion and migration of ICO-RAO Police Web software be increased by an amount of $8,508.15, taxes included, for a total of $88,422.67, taxes included. And that an amount of $8,508.15, including the tax credit, be added to the purchase order BC029761. And finally, to allocate these amounts according to the financial information included in the decision-making file 2024-2156 and 5057.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Peart. All in favor. It's a small amount, but it has to be done. All in favor. Carried. Awarding of item number 10, octroi du contrat coupe de rue et trottoir PUB 2025-019. Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je propose d'autoriser une dépense de 481 997,61 sous, incluant le crédit de taxe pour la réfection des coupes de rue et des trottoirs dans la ville de Westmount. Appel d'offres public PUB 2025-019. D'accorder aux entreprises Ventec Inc. le contrat à sa fin au prix de sa soumission pour une somme maximale de 527 850 et 23 sous, taxes incluses, le tout conformément au document contractuel de l'appel d'offres public PUB 2025-019. D'imputer cette dépense conformément aux informations financières s'inscrites au sommaire décisionnel numéro 5072.
Merci beaucoup. Appuyé par Conseil Gallery. You want to add anything? These are standard cuts.
Yep, every year we set aside some amount to do some repair of some street cuts and some sidewalks in the city. Some of those funds are recoverable rather by from the utilities or from private residents. But we do this every year just to patch and repair across the territory of the city.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Item number 11, modification to a contract mapping of information systems is again Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. I propose that the contract awarded to Les Consultants Acquis for the mapping of information systems used by the City of Westmount to be amended and increased by amount of $1,945, taxes included, for a total of $51,223.29, taxes included, that an amount of $1,945, taxes included, be added to purchase order BC 030673, that this expenditure be charged in accordance with the financial details outlined in decision-making file number 5060.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Shammy. Any further comments?
This is a small amendment to an existing contract.
Thank you. All in favor? Item number 12, l'octroi du contrat mise en place d'un nouveau réseau sans fil centralisé PUB 2025-022. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I authorize an expenditure of $162,798.87, including the tax credit, for the implementation of a newly centralized and modernized wireless network for all municipal facilities, public call for tender PUB 2025-022, to award the contract for this purpose to Système AC Inc. for the amount of its bid, namely a maximum sum of $178,285.98, taxes included, all in accordance with the contractual documents of public call for tenders PUB 2025-022, and finally to charge this expenditure in accordance with the financial information recorded in the decision-making file 5056.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments? All in favor? Item number 13, again, awarding of a contract repair on parapets and sealants on library exterior is Councillor Roux.
Alors, je vais
PUB 2025-010. Councillor Roux.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je vais dispenser de lire les attendus que la lecture de ce qui est proposé est claire. Alors, je propose d'autoriser une dépense de 466 025,86 $, incluant le crédit de taxe pour la réfection des parapets et le remplacement de divers scellants de l'enveloppe extérieure de la bibliothèque municipale, appel d'offres public PUB-2025-010, accordé à SA Construction Inc. le contrat à cette fin au prix de sa soumission pour une somme maximale de 510 359,08 $, taxes incluses, le tout conformément aux documents contractuels de l'appel d'offres public PUB 2025-010, que l'octroi de ce contrat ainsi que son paiement soit conditionnel à l'entrée en vigueur du règlement 1628 décrétant des dépenses en immobilisation et en un emprunt de 2 647 190 $ pour la réfection de bâtiments municipaux. Imputer cette dépense conformément aux informations financières inscrites au sommaire décisionnel numéro 5074.
Merci beaucoup. Appuyé par Councillor Shammy. Work on the library that's very needed.
Yep.
Have to invest in your buildings so you don't have to spend more later. All in favor? Carried. Call for public tenders, installation of Hydro Westmount utility poles, PUB 2025-025. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I propose to authorize an expenditure of $212,540, including tax credit for the supply and installation of wooden poles, public tender PUB 2025-025, and to award the contract to Lorrain Inc. in the amount of $244,367.87, taxes included, and in accordance with the terms and conditions of public tender PUB 2025-025. Finally, to allocate this expense according to the financial information described in decision-making file 5079.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor D'Amico. Any further comments?
Straightforward.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Again, is Councillor Shamley, awarding of a contract for professional services for the modernization of elevators.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I propose to authorize an expenditure of $138,583.50, including tax credits for professional services to modernize the VH and PSO elevators, public tender PUB 2025-019, and to award the contract to Archipel Architecture, Inc. in the amount of $189,708.75, taxes included, being in conformity with the contract documents of public tender PUB 2025-019, and finally to allocate this expense according to the financial information described in the decision-making file 5063.
Merci beaucoup. Appuyé par Councillor Gallery. Any further comments? No?
Straightforward.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 16, price adjustment contract PUB 2023-039 for the collection of household waste and food residues. Councillor Aronson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to read the whereases because it gives context to why we're changing the amounts here. Whereas on December the 18th, 2023, Council awarded a contract for the collection of household waste and food residues, PUB 2023-039, to Derishberg Canada Environment Incorporated, and that was resolution number 2023-12-344. And whereas the contract was awarded for a 3-year period from May the 1st, 2024 to April the 30th, 2027 with renewal options. And whereas under the terms of the contract, the costs of collecting and transporting household waste and food residues must be adjusted annually. And whereas it is necessary to adjust the contract for the amount covering for the period covering between May 1st, 2025 and April 30th, 2026, representing year 2 of the contract, I move that an amount of $1,092,733.10, taxes included, be authorized for year 2 of the contract for the collection of household waste and food residue, PUB 2023-039, with Derishberg Canada Environment, Inc. And a further move, Madam Mayor, that the amount of $997,810.97, including the tax credit, be authorized for the services covering the period of May the 1st, 2025 to April 30th, 2026. And finally, that this council allocate this expense according to the financial information described in decision-making file number 5061.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Any further comments on this?
Just to say that it's an adjustment according to the Consumer Price Index. It's about 2.6%.
Yeah, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 17, call for public tenders, catch basin cleaning, PUB 2025-023. Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. I propose to authorize an expenditure of $62,210.34, including tax credit for catch basin cleaning, public tender PUB 2025-023, to award the contract to Service de Rebut Soulange Incorporé in the amount of $68,128.44, taxes included, and in accordance with the terms and conditions of public tender PUB-2025-023, to allocate this expense according to the financial information described in decision-making file number 5059.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Bostock. And no further comments.
Seasonal activity.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 18, awarding of a contract, preventative maintenance and repair of HVAC equipment, PUB 2025-020. C'est Conseiller Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I propose to award the contract for preventive maintenance and repair of ventilation and air conditioning, HVAC equipment, and systems for municipal buildings to Texal DGE, Inc., authorize an expenditure of $125,678.70, including the tax credit, for preventive maintenance and repairs to ventilation and air conditioning, HVAC equipment, and systems in municipal buildings for the year 2025. And finally, to allocate this expense according to the financial information described in the decision-making file 5014.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Any further comments?
Straightforward.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 19, awarding of a contract purchase of overhead transformers, PUB 2025-015, is again Councillor Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I authorize an expenditure of $315,468, including tax credits for the purchase of overhead transformers, public tender PUB 2025-015, award the contract to Surplec Inc. in the amount of $362,709.33, taxes included, being in conformity with the contract documents of the public tender, PUB 2025-015, and finally, to allocate this expense according to the financial information described in the decision-making file number 5042.
Merci beaucoup. Appuyé par Conseiller D'Amico. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 20, numéro 20, octroi d'un contrat de remplacement de 2 réservoirs à diesel, Conseiller Bonstock.
A little warm up here. I move to award Petro High Tech Construction a contract to replace 2 500-liter diesel fuel tanks, Belvedere and Bethune, that an amount of $83,644.35, taxes included, $76,378.44, including the tax credit, be authorized for this work, and to allocate this amount in accordance with the financial information appearing in the decision-making file number 5040.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Carried. As Councillor Aronson, is that an up or down? Are you against her? Just quickly.
I'm in favor because I don't want this stuff leaking everywhere.
Okay, perfect. All in favor. Carried. Item number 21. Merci, Councillor Aronson. Item 21, appel d'offres public reconstruction de l'avenue Forden et de Forden Crescent, PUB 2025-012. Councillor Peart for one of our major projects of the summer.
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse. It gives me great pleasure to authorize an expenditure of $3,519,090.42, including tax credit for professional services for the reconstruction of roadways, walkways, and street lighting on Forden Avenue and Forden Crescent, public tender PUB-2025-012, to award the contract to Eurovia Quebec Construction, Inc. at the price of its bid for a maximum amount of $3,853,862.80, taxes included, in accordance with the contract documents of public tender PUB-2025-012, to allocate the spending this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in decision-making file number 5080.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Shammy. Any further comments on this? This is one of our major projects of a road that really needs some work done on it.
Indeed, I think earlier was mentioned, we were asking about why Forden. I just also like to just remind everybody that what often the works on the surface are works that follow up underground works, and Forden had received some underground works in the past, and generally we like to do some resurfacing thereafter. This is one of those projects.
And it's not just the underground that is necessary on
It's a
Forden,
lot
it's
of
very
work,
much the
very
above
much in
ground.
need, exactly.
So Councillor Roux, did you want to add any commentary to that?
Yes, if I may. Maybe I should have made them earlier when I forget her name, the lady who was, well, I didn't catch her name, I'm not forgetting, who was here and spoke of her husband who unfortunately was injured, and asking why Forden. Thank you to those that are still in the room. It would be a little awkward to be speaking to a completely empty room. But for full transparency, it's not a big secret. It was published in our local paper. I live on Forden Crescent. So I don't want anyone to think I'm hiding anything. When Forden Crescent was put on the list, I have nothing to do with it, just to be clear. I received legal advice to not get involved in the consultation process, not to give my opinion, that my family shouldn't either. We respected that. I would have been happy to abstain today, but I got legal advice today that it's not there's no conflict of interest for me to be voting today. So I will vote. Honestly, I think as a councillor, if we could not have our street redone, it would feel more comfortable, but I don't think the residents should be penalized because the councillor lives on the street. The street was supposed to be redone in 2021 when the underground waterworks was done, but it was closed up and not redone. So residents have been waiting for 4 years. The street is in terrible shape. The lady's husband suffered injuries, and I really feel for him. It shouldn't happen anywhere. A woman broke her foot last summer on the street, spent the summer in a cast. So this street needs to be redone. I realize there's many, but that's the one that's on the list this year.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your commentary. And so all in favor? Carried, and it was second, I can't remember who's, it was seconded by Councillor Shammy. Item number 22, numéro 22, dépôt de procès-verbaux du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme, Conseil Peériode.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. Je propose que le Conseil prenne acte et accepte le dépôt des procès-verbaux du Comité consultatif d'urbanisme, le CCU, pour les assemblées suivantes. Assemblée ordinaire tenue le 1er et 3 avril 2025. Assemblée spéciale tenue le 1er avril 2025. C'est une demande de dérogation mineure.
Merci beaucoup. Appuyé par Madame Gallery. All in favor? Carried. Item.
Pardon, j'ai pas vu le vote de la conseillère Roux. Oui, parfait.
Item number 23, minor exemption application 638 Lansdowne Avenue is again Councillor Peart.
I don't think it's me.
Oh, it's, sorry, Councillor Gallery. Je m'excuse, Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will read the whereases. Whereas the provision of bylaw 1576 concerning minor exemption, whereas a minor exemption must comply with the planning program bylaw 1576 S7 subsec 1. Whereas a minor exemption must be deemed minor in quantitative terms, in terms of environmental impact, and in architectural terms, by law 1576, S7 subsection 2. Whereas the application of the regulatory provisions targeted by the application causes serious harm to the person requesting the minor exemption, by law 1576, S7 subsection 3. Whereas the exemption shall not hinder the owners of neighboring properties in the enjoyment of the rights of their rights of ownership, Bylaw 1576 S7 subsection 4, whereas the exemption does not exacerbate safety or public health risks or affect the quality of the environment or general well-being, Bylaw 1576 S7 subsection 5. Whereas the minor exemption application for 638 Lansdowne Avenue is aimed at following the construction of a rear deck and access staircase on the ground floor of the building, which would increase the site coverage ratio on the lot to 45%, even though the table of physical and spatial provisions in Schedule A.1 of zoning bylaw 1303 stipulates that the maximum site coverage ratio in zone R2-04-01, in which the building is located, is 40%. Whereas the proposed deck and access staircase are aimed at replacing the deck and staircase that were removed by the previous owners without authorization from the city, resulting in the loss of vested rights. Whereas the proposed deck and access staircase will occupy a smaller footprint than that of the previously illegally removed deck and access staircase. Whereas the proposed deck and access staircase are aimed at creating a functional secondary emergency exit at the rear of the building, which is currently unusable. Whereas this minor exemption application meets the criteria prescribed by the bylaw 1576. I move, Madam Mayor, that the above preamble form an integral part of this notice, that Council approve this minor exemption application request for 638 Lansdowne Avenue, aimed at allowing the construction of a rear deck and access staircase on the ground floor of the building, which would increase the site coverage ratio on the lot to 45%, even though the table of physical and spatial provisions in Schedule A.1 of zoning bylaw 1303 stipulates that the maximum site coverage ratio in zone R2-04-01, in which the building is located, is 40%.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Peart. Pretty comprehensive, and we don't comment on the individual file, so all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 24, 24, approbation des plans d'implémentation et d'intégration architecturale is Councillor Peart.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. I propose that the council act on the recommendations of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, as set out in the minutes of its regular meeting held on April 1st and 3rd of 2025, and approve, with respect to each of them, the plans and permit conditions attached to the items listed below, as assessed in accordance with bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery.
Yes.
Nothing, looks like a lot of windows and doors. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. 25, approval of S.P.A.I.P. application 2024-00. My mic's not. Sorry, grab that.
Merci, Madame la Mairesse. For this one, I will read the whereases because it's particular to this case. Whereas the minutes of the regular meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, held on April 1st and 3rd of 2025, were submitted at this sitting. Whereas the primary role of the PAC is to analyze and issue recommendations on any application that must be submitted to it under the Act respecting land use and planning and development, CQLR, Chapter A-19.1, as well as any other urban planning and land use application referred to it by council. Whereas a request was submitted by the applicant for 6 Hudson Avenue in accordance with Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs. Whereas the PAC issued an unfavorable opinion concerning said permit request. Whereas modifications to existing buildings are permitted as long as they are visually coherent and in harmony with the environment. Whereas the distinctive features of a building that is part of an architectural ensemble must be treated in the same way. Whereas the proposal applies to an architectural ensemble, the 2 halves of which have wrought iron railings, possibly dating from the 60s and 1980s. Whereas the proposal aims to replace the porch and first floor balcony railings in a composition similar to that of the existing wrought iron railing on the other half of the architectural ensemble. Whereas in accordance with Bylaw 1305, the Council must adopt a resolution regarding the recommendation of the CCU. I propose that Council, having received the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Committee, the PAC, as outlined in the minutes of its regular meeting held on April 1st and 3rd of 2025, under item PAC 25-04.02 on the agenda of said meeting, approve the site planning and architectural integration program conditions for the issuance of a permit in accordance with the plans and documents submitted for permit request 2024-00332-S.P.A.I.P 2024-03129 for the replacement of the wrought iron railing on the front porch and second floor balcony. That these plans and documents be attached to this resolution as an integral part hereof.
Thank you very much. C'est la décision sur recommandation défavorable du CCU 25-04.20, 81 à 83 Windsor.
Your mic.
My mic is off again? I didn't turn it on. Okay. Decision of the PAC's unfavorable recommendation 25-04.20, 81 to 83, 81 and 83 Windsor. Councillor Peart, or Councillor Gallery again.
Thank you, Madame Mayor. Whereas the minutes of the regular meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, held on April 1st and 3rd, 2025, were submitted at this sitting. Whereas the primary role of the PAC is to analyze and issue recommendations on any application that must be submitted to it under the Act respecting land use planning and development, CQLR CA-19.1, as well as any other urban planning and land use application referred to it by the Council. Whereas a request was submitted by the applicant for 81-83 Windsor in accordance with Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, whereas said request does not meet the objectives and criteria of said Bylaw 1305. Whereas the PAC issued an unfavorable opinion concerning said request, as stated in the minutes of its regular meeting held April 1st and 3rd, 2025, under item CCU 25-04.20 of the agenda of said meeting. Whereas in accordance with Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, S.P.A.I.P, the Municipal Council must adopt a resolution concerning the opinion of the PAC. I move, Madam Mayor, that the Municipal Council uphold the unfavorable opinion of the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, as stated in the minutes of its regular meeting held on April 1st and 3rd, 2025, under item CCU 25-04.21 of the agenda of said meeting and refuse the site planning and architectural integration program conditions for the issuance of a permit in accordance with the plans and documents submitted in connection with permit request 2025-00059-PEER 2025-03028 for the replacement of entrance doors at 85 and 87 Windsor, that these plans and documents be attached to this resolution as an integral part hereof.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Peart. All in favor? Carried. Moving to the next motion, which is a similar motion, so I don't think you need to read the whereases because it's almost word for word. So, decision of the PAC's unfavorable recommendation 25-04.21, 85 to 85 and 87 Windsor. Councillor Gallery again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Municipal Council uphold the unfavorable opinion of the Planning Advisory Committee PAC as stated in the minutes of the regular meeting held on April 1st and 3rd, 2025, under item CCU 25-04.21 of the agenda of said meeting, and refuse the site planning and architectural integration program conditions for the issuance of a permit in accordance with the plans and documents submitted in connection with permit request 2025-00076, S.P.A.I.P. 2025-03047 for the replacement of entrance doors at 85 and 87 Windsor.
Thank you very much. That these plans and documents be attached to this resolution as an integral part. Seconded by Councillor Peart. All in favor? Carried. Item number 28, approval of the S.P.A.I.P. application 2024-01364 S.P.A.I.P. 2025-03010. Councillor Gallery again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will read these whereases. Whereas the minutes of the regular meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee, PAC, held on April 1st and 3rd, 2025, were submitted at this sitting. Whereas the primary role of the PAC is to analyze and issue recommendations on any application that must be submitted to it under the Act respecting land use, planning, and development, CQLR CA-19.1, as well as any other urban planning and land use application referred to it by Council. Whereas a request was submitted by the application in accordance with Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, permit request 2024-01364, whereas the PAC issued an unfavorable opinion concerning said permit request. Whereas in accordance with Bylaw 1305 on site planning and architectural integration programs, S.P.A.I.P., the Council must render a decision by resolution on the recommendations of the PAC. I move that the Council approve the site planning and architectural integration program conditions for the issuance of a permit in accordance with the plans and documents submitted for the permit request 2024-01364 S.P.A.I.P. 2025-03010 to replace two signs at 1299 Green Avenue, that these plans and documents attached to this resolution as an integral part hereof.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Peart. Pretty comprehensive. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 29 is Notice of Motion Bylaw 1635, amending Règlement 1530 concernant le régime de retraite pour les fonctionnaires et les employés de la Ville de Westmount, refonte au 1er janvier 2014. Councillor Shammy to give notice of motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I give notice of motion of the intention to submit at a later sitting of Council Bylaw 1635 entitled Bylaw amending Règlement 1530 concernant le régime de retraite pour les fonctionnaires et les employés de la Ville de Westmount, refonte au 1er janvier 2024. The purpose of the bylaw amending Règlement 1530 concernant le régime de retraite pour les fonctionnaires et les employés de la Ville de Westmount, refonte au 1er janvier 2024, is to amend a section of the current bylaw that provides for the compensation of members of the Retirement Committee.
Thank you very much. Item number 30, second draft bylaw 1632, amending certain provisions of the zoning bylaw concerning vested rights and uses. Madame la greffière.
Oui, je signale que toutes les formalités requises pour la dispense de lecture de ce règlement ont été respectées et que des copies du règlement ont été remises à tous les membres du Conseil. Des copies ont également été mises à la disposition du public.
Merci beaucoup. Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du Conseil à la fait qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement et que lecture en est dispensée? Councillor Peart, do you want to explain the purpose of the bylaw?
Certainly. The purpose of this proposed bylaw is to amend the zoning bylaw in order to update the chapter concerning vested rights and the subdivision concerning the occupancy of premises for the practice of massages.
Merci beaucoup. Councillor Peart to
I
propose.
propose that the second draft bylaw 1632 entitled Bylaw to Amend Certain Provisions of the Zoning Bylaw Concerning Vested Rights and Uses be adopted.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 31, notice of motion, avis de motion, règlement 1635 visant à modifier le règlement 1530 concernant le régime de retraite pour les fonctionnaires et les employés de la Ville de Westmount, refonte au 1er janvier 2014. Avis de motion, c'est conseiller Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I give notice of motion of the intention to submit at a later sitting of Council Bylaw 1635 entitled Bylaw amending Règlement 1530 concernant le régime de retraite pour les fonctionnaires et les employés de la Ville de Westmount, refonte au 1er janvier 2024. And the purpose of the bylaw amending the Règlement 1530 concernant le régime de retraite pour les fonctionnaires et les employés de la Ville de Westmount, refonte le 1er janvier 2024, is to amend a section of the current bylaw that provides for the compensation of members of the Retirement Committee.
Merci beaucoup. C'est a notice of motion, avis de motion. Item number 32 is adoption règlement 1636 visant à corriger une disposition du règlement de zonage concernant la plantation et la protection des arbres et des surfaces végétales en cours latéral. Madame la greffière.
Oui, je signale que toutes les formalités requises pour la dispense de lecture de ce règlement ont été respectées et que des copies du règlement ont été remises à tous les membres du Conseil et mises à la disposition du public.
Merci beaucoup. Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du Conseil présent à la fin qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement et que lecture en est dispensée?
So declare.
Thank you. Councillor Aronson.
So the object of this bylaw, 1636, is to correct one provision of the zoning bylaw regarding tree planting, tree protection, and vegetative surfaces in side yards. And it's to correct and replace in its French term the term service public with a service utility publique in order to align with the Schema d'aménagement et développement agglomération de Montréal. And accordingly, I propose that bylaw 1636 to correct one provision of the zoning bylaw regarding tree planting, tree protection, and vegetative surfaces in side yards be adopted.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Gallery. Any further comments?
It's correcting a word.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Item number 33, bylaw 1637 concerning the supplemental plan for the officers and employees of the City of Westmount. La greffière, s'il vous plaît.
Pardon. Je signale que toutes les formalités requises pour la dispense de lecture de ce règlement ont été respectées et que des copies du règlement ont été remises à tous les membres du Conseil. Des copies ont également été mises à la disposition du public.
Merci beaucoup. Est-ce que je peux avoir la déclaration de la part de chaque membre du Conseil à la fin qu'il ou elle a lu le règlement et que lecture en est dispensée?
So declared.
Merci beaucoup. Conseiller Chamy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I propose that bylaw 1637 concerning the supplemental plan for the officers and employees of the City of Westmount be adopted. And the purpose of this bylaw concerning the supplemental plan for the officers and employees of the City of Westmount is to establish a supplementary pension plan to ensure internal equity for employees whose income exceeds the maximum provided in the Income Tax Act.
Thank you very much. Do we need to vote on that? Wait, you need to propose. No, you need to propose the motion.
I propose that bylaw 1637 concerning the supplemental plan for the officers and employees of the City of Westmount be adopted.
Merci beaucoup. Seconded by Councillor Bostock. All in favor? Aye. Carried. Item number 34, final adoption of the resolution SCIOP, PPC-moi, 4216 Dorchester. This will be, remind me of who this is. Councillor Kaz. Well, typically for a PPC-moi, do we have to read the whereases? Oui?
En fait, oui, parce que le préambule fait partie de la
Fait
résolution.
partie, don't. Off you go.
Okay, whereas Bylaw number 1483 concerning specific construction, alteration, or occupancy proposal for an immovable COUPE of the City of Westmount allows council, upon request based on certain criteria and subject to the conditions it determines, to authorize a COUPE within the territory of the City of Westmount. Whereas an application has been submitted under bylaw number 1489 for the building located at 4216 Dorchester Boulevard on lot 4142956 of the Quebec Cadastre, whereas any request for a COUPE must, in order to be authorized, comply with the objectives of the urban plan of the City of Westmount. Whereas the construction of the project, as proposed in the present application, was previously authorized by City Council on January 16, 2023, Resolution number 2023-01-14. Whereas, under Article 5.3, number 1489, any resolution becomes null and void if the project has not been carried out or is not underway within 18 months. Whereas the owners were unable to meet their prescribed deadline, notably for financial reasons. Whereas Resolution number 2023-01-14 became null and void on July 16, 2024, and a new application has been submitted for the realization of the project. Whereas the Planning and Advisory Committee issued a favorable opinion in the meeting held on October 3, 2024, and the minutes of this meeting were submitted to Council at the meeting held on November 4, 2024. Whereas a public consultation of this project was held on November 25, 2024, whereas a second draft resolution was adopted by Council on December 16, 2024, Resolution number 2024-12-310. Whereas following the publication of public notice on March 13, 2025, the City received no request for a referendum. I propose that the above preamble be an integral part of the present resolution, that the Council adopt in accordance with bylaw number 1489 entitled Bylaw Concerning Specific Construction, Alteration, or Occupancy Proposals for an Immovable COUPE of the City of Westmount, a final resolution having the effect of granting the request for authorization regarding a specific construction, alteration, or occupancy proposal for the building located at 4216 Dorchester Boulevard on lot 4142956 of the Quebec Cadastre, hereinafter the immovable. That the second draft resolution, as thus adopted, shall have the following effects on the immovable. A, to grant an exemption from zoning bylaw number 1303 of the City of Westmount by allowing, notwithstanding the maximum building height of 35 feet, 0 inches, indicated in the physical spatial specification grid for zone number R6-35-01 of the zoning plan, a building with a minimum height of 59 feet, 0 inches. B, to grant an exemption from zoning bylaw number 1303 by allowing, notwithstanding the maximum of 3 stories permitted in the specifications grid for zone R6-35-01, a building with a maximum of 5 stories. C, to grant an exemption from zoning bylaw number 1303 by allowing, notwithstanding the maximum floor area ratio of 2 permitted in the specifications grid for zone R6-35-01, a maximum floor area ratio of 2.35. D, to grant an exemption from zoning bylaw 1303 by allowing, notwithstanding the maximum lot coverage of 65% permitted in the specification grid for zone R6-35-01, a maximum lot coverage of 66%. E, to grant an exemption from zoning bylaw number 1305 by allowing, notwithstanding the prohibition of encroachment in the space between a street and building alignment set at 12 feet 0 inches for Dorchester Boulevard. As stated in subsection 5.2.3, the construction of an underground parking area in the bay window a minimum distance of 0 feet 0 inches and 10 feet 3¼ inches respectively from the front lot line. F, to grant an exemption from zoning bylaw number 1303 by allowing, notwithstanding the requirement of 22 feet 0 inches maneuvering space between or in front of required parking spaces as stated in Article 5.5.3.2. A maneuvering space ranging from 19 feet 1 3/4 inch to 21 feet 7 1/4 inch for parking spaces. All the above in accordance with the plan submitted and the information contained in the decision-making file number 2024-2443, 4814, and 5126, and subject to the following conditions. 1, that the agreement concerning the community space availability dated November 30, 2023, entered into between the city and the owner of the immovable under resolution number 2023-01-14 be renewed, and that said agreement be finalized prior to the issuance of the construction permit. 2, that the city clerk or deputy clerk be authorized to sign on behalf of the city the renewed agreement mentioned above. 3, that the present authorization granted by council should not exempt the applicant from the obligation to obtain any other permit, certificate, authorization, or approval required, if applicable, under the law or municipal regulations for the realization of the project. Et voilà.
Et voilà. Let's hope
that it gets
that
done.
we see a successful project in the coming months there.
Coming 18 months,
So
it has to be started.
It is unfortunate that we had to do this, but this is provincial regulation that we had to adhere to. So, moved by Councillor Kez, seconded by Councillor Peart. All in favor? Carried. That's been an empty lot for a very long time. Item number 34 was the correction call for tenders, or now it's 35. Correction for call for tenders by invitation, maintenance of sports facilities, and that will be Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to authorize instead an expenditure of $88,967.46, including the tax credit for the maintenance of the sports fields, being option 2 of the specifications, including the supply and installation of grass, invitation to tender INV 2025-009, to award the contract to Pelouse Santé Inc. for this purpose at the price stated in its bid, up to a maximum amount of $97,430.96, taxes included, all in accordance with the contractual documents of invitation to tender INV 2025-009, to charge this expenditure in accordance with the financial information provided in decision-making files number 4968 and 5131.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Aronson. All in favor? Carried. Item number 36, appointment of superintendent in the Public Works Department. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that council approve the permanent appointment of Monsieur Michel Panicella to the position of Superintendent Fleet Maintenance in the Public Works Department, salary group grade 8, 2025 rate effective May 20th, 2025, and this in accordance with the salary recommendation contained in decision-making file number 5129 and with the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel, and that Mr. Panicella be subject to a probation period of a maximum of 12 months.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Bostock. Congratulations on the appointment of the position. It's an incredibly important division within our Public Works team, because without our trucks on the road, we are not able to execute the work of the Public Works team. So congratulations and welcome and best of luck in your new role. All in favor? Carried. That brings it to the end of the new business and items on the agenda. And I think we should move to questions online that people had submitted.
Oui, parfait. Donc, la première question de Louise Carpentier. What will happen to the bus route number 24, 138, 104, 63, and 124 between Claremont and Grosvenor during the Sherbrooke Street repaving schedule for the summer period 2025? How will the SAM users in Westmount be informed and be assured of continuous and reliable bus service for each of the 5 bus routes?
Merci beaucoup, Madame Carpentier. It's a very, very important question, and you're going to see in the coming days on our website all of the information on that affects the Sherbrooke Street project will be online, but the bus routes will be still be running, and still we will always have traffic. There will be 2 lanes of traffic on Sherbrooke Street. So We will continue to have bus service, but there will be an impact, obviously, on traffic and congestion and things like that, and an impact on, you can always access stores, but it'll be a construction site for a little bit. So but thank you very much for the important question.
Ensuite, question de Marina Bresky regarding the turf field at Marianopolis. First question, first of two. Would the $4 million investment in the artificial turf field go ahead without a net zero carbon emission plan? And the second question is the contract with Marianopolis binding, or could the next council decide to change course and invest the extra $4 million in much-needed road repairs?
Thank you very much, Ms. Bresky, for your question. This council had committed $4 million to this project. We still have no project submitted from Marianopolis at this point. So we don't have a contract or a commitment that we can speak of or that we can share with the public. I still firmly believe that this is an absolute must for our community. But we do not have a formal agreement yet with Marianopolis. They've had some change of how their building is managed and owned, and the transition to it being fully owned by Marianopolis has caused some delays in this. But thank you for your question.
Another question from the same person, Mariana Bresky. Does council still use the planning program document last updated in 2016 as guiding the city's planning and development orientations?
Yes, Councillor Peart, do you want to add anything to this? But yes, that is the planning program that I think you're referring to is still something that a tool the city uses. Prochaine question.
From Paul Hunter. What is the future for Claremont Avenue? The problem was the parking and the bicycle lane. As far as I know, nobody complained about enlarged sidewalks, more greenery, and appease traffic. Will the new project include these features?
Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. We do hope to widen the sidewalks slightly where we're able to. And we'll have a new tender that's going to be published shortly so that we can go out, well, we're going to go out to tender and hopefully be able to award the work, and we will try and make as many improvements as we can. But you rightly raise a question of certainly traffic abatement, traffic calming measures often come with road design changes. And that one of those road design changes was to have a bike path on the street, and it's not to say it was a dedicated bike path. It's not to say you couldn't have that if you wanted to move forward, but it wouldn't be separated like that. But for now, there is no plan for a bike path on Claremont. Anyone else want to add to that? No. Next question.
From Adam Sischlinger. 3 questions related. First one, why are the lights on Sherbrooke not timed? Traffic is manufactured and productivity lost as a result. Second question, will major, I guess, work through street like Côte Saint-Antoine and Sherbrooke be fixed? I'm guessing there's a word missing. And third question, when the roads are actually fixed, will the city be fixing the lead pipe problem at the same time?
Thank you very much, Mr. Schlesinger. You raise, the most important issue facing this council, which is the infrastructure work that we have to do. And Sherbrooke Street is going to be done in 3 phases. We have awarded the contract for phase 1. We expect to start that work on May 20th, and that will run from the western limit to Grosvenor. It includes sidewalks and road resurfacing, and you're very right, it needs a lot of work. We will also, the 2 people that we're going to help, that could have provided me an answer with the lights and the timing of the Sherbrooke lights were not in the office today, but we can try and get you an answer on that because we can configure those lights as we rebuild this, or as we do infrastructure work on the street. And Côte Saint-Antoine is not scheduled for anything beyond repairs this year. So thank you for your questions, but it is, and the lead pipe problem. You are raising an incredibly important problem, and that is that so much of this work is driven by what's going on underground, and our water network and the age of our water network and the state of our water network is what drives a lot of our infrastructure projects. So if your street has very old water, but maybe not a water network, but maybe a surface that is not seemingly as bad as somewhere else, often the work is driven by what's underground. Want to add anything, anyone? No? C'est beau? Next question.
Parfait, de Linda Tremblay. Bonjour, Madame la mairesse. Je vous demande, s'il vous plaît, d'être plus directive dans la manière de gérer le conseil municipal. Il y a des citoyens qui exagèrent et qui monopolisent 5 à 10 minutes pour poser leurs questions. Ce n'est pas respectueux des autres citoyens qui écoutent le conseil. De plus, ce n'est pas normal que les citoyens qui posent des questions en ligne obtiennent leurs réponses très tard le soir. Les questions écrites devraient être traitées en même temps que les questions orales. Parfois, un citoyen pose 2-3 questions au début de la soirée et le même citoyen revient poser 2-3 questions après, alors que les citoyens en ligne n'ont pas encore pu poser une seule question. C'est injuste. Voici mes questions. Pourriez-vous resserrer les règles sur le temps de parole? Pourriez-vous vous assurer que les questions écrites des citoyens soient traitées dès le début de la soirée en même temps que les autres? Et certainement pas après les autres qui ont déjà posé plusieurs questions. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Merci pour la question. Vous avez des bons points et c'est pas facile toujours de gérer toutes les questions en ligne, il y a les gens qui déplacent, qui viennent ici. Des fois, c'est des fois, c'est des mêmes questions. Donc, on essaie de gérer ça, mais peut-être on peut garder de faire comme un mix de une question dans la salle, une question en ligne, un mix de ça. Puis, on essaie j'essaie de faire mon part pour être plus précise. Des fois, il faut comme cut the mic sur les gens, mais c'est pas toujours facile. Puis les gens... des fois, c'est pas toujours facile à gérer des gens, des fois, mais la plupart des gens sont respectueux. Mais c'est sûr, je pense qu'il faut commencer avec un limite de temps. Donc, je pense comme tout le monde, comme les autres villes le font, comme je le fais tout le temps à l'Aglo de Montréal, vous avez 2 minutes et on pose la question. Puis on avance comme ça. C'est long, c'est tard, ça va être 10 heures quand on est fini ici ce soir. Prochaine question.
Parfait. C'est la dernière de Diana Hernandez. Dear Council, my question concerns the neglected green space between the 16 townhouse complex east of the old train station. Since the 2017 windstorm, an 8 years old stump has been left behind due to the city failure to complete its own tree removal. It is now being falsely reframed as an ecological asset. Another tree lost in the same storm, critical to the landscape design, has never been replaced. The space has become a symbol of systemic neglect. No flower trimming, no hedge mesh, no fall preparation in 2024, and 3 abandoned planters left all summer, making the area look like a dumping ground. Our question is simple. When will the city remove the stump, restore the landscape, and fulfill its basic maintenance duties? This is not merely about aesthetics. It's about civic responsibility, declining service, and the continued use of substandard contractor. We respectfully request a clear response with dates and commitment, not more deferrals. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. There's ongoing work that's going on at the train station. There have been some trees taken down. There are some stumps there. They do, I know that you've been in touch with our arborist who's provided you some details with that going forward. And we are doing some planting around there in the coming weeks. But I don't have an exact date for you in terms of the removal of the stump at this point. D'autres questions? C'est tout? Est-ce qu'il y a des questions dans la salle?
I have a bit of a whimsical question for you. As I'm sure you've read in the Westmount Independent, I've been maybe arguing, one could say, with the developer and architect of the Mountainside United Church. And I was thinking and brainstorming, what are other ideas for this building if a school won't happen and I really don't want it to turn into some guy's mansion? Would the city ever consider purchasing the building and doing something like an artist residence there in exchange for the residencies to contribute to public art for the city?
Well, thank you for your question. Thank you for your suggestion. It's interesting that you asked this question right after the train station question, because we have buildings in Westmount that need a lot of investment, need a lot of infrastructure upgrade. Obviously, the train station is one of them that was bought for all sorts of, it was bought because it was being abandoned. But given the current financial...
Not a priority.
Given the current financial situation of the city and the infrastructure work that is ahead of us, certainly not while I'm mayor, so that window's closing. I won't commit for the next person, but I wouldn't take on another building of that size that is going to require that much investment.
Okay. And then just another comment for the Agglomeration Council reference for a 2-minute limit. I think it would just be more productive to limit it on a certain amount of questions per topic rather than 2 minutes per question. That's it.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. John Fress, 473 Lansdowne. I'd like to know, we're not replacing the sewer on Sherbrooke, where we're doing a rehabilitation. What is the estimated lifespan of the sewer that's down there now, of all of whatever you want to call pipes, sewers, or anything that's down there?
I don't have that answer for you, but I can certainly ask our engineering team to give a specific.
Because it would certainly be, you mentioned that there are problems underground. The
problems specifically underground are related to the hydro manhole that needs to be replaced.
Okay. So someone at some point before awarding the contract must have done the study and said that these sewers will last X amount of time, therefore we will not do them now.
Looked at the entirety of the road, yeah.
Okay. The follow-up question is this. So let's say after 3 years, we start getting transversal cracks. They may be small, thin, but we don't do caulking. They get wet, freeze, expand. So the question is this. Of the 3 possible reactions to this is ignore it, make the contractor responsible for it in the contract, or we do the repair. What goes on in the contract? What does the contractor, what is he responsible for, and for what length of time?
I don't have the contract. I can't speak to the details of the contract, but obviously they are responsible for their work and any defects in it, and then they have a guarantee of a certain amount of time.
Okay, well, I just, before leaving, the City of Montreal has been doing some fantastic paving. I bike the section between Atwater and Guy, done 4 or 5 years ago, I think, with heavy trucking on a slope. There isn't a crack. They did Côte de Neige recently. Yes.
Are you talking about Sherbrooke Street?
Yeah. Well, what becomes? I'm just saying on Dorchester becomes René Lévesque. I'm just citing that as an example of impeccable paving. And, they've also done Côte des Neiges, so it'll be interesting to see who develops cracks first. And I think the City of Montreal is doing some great work, and I don't know, I get the impression that a certain amount of apathy, while it's in the contract, we'll do it then. But,
there's no apathy. And there is total dedication from the engineering team to make this project a success, and it has the full support of council. So there is no apathy.
Okay, thank you. The other thing is...
And this is a very, very significant investment in our capital works plan for this year.
No, I'm sure and the taxpayer will feel it. That's why I'm asking the question. But I don't know if you'll permit anything else. The municipalities, including the work we did around Green Avenue and de Maisonneuve, you've been lining the curbs with granite blocks that really protect the sidewalk. And will we be using something like that on?
So I think you had asked that question last week, or whenever our last council meeting was, about the granite borders on Sherbrooke Street. They will not be granite borders on Sherbrooke Street.
There will not be?
No.
And is there a reason for not having this quality?
Because we are keeping the same configuration of the sidewalks in place, and we are using concrete sidewalks.
Yeah,
and some pavers.
The border is just one brick wide. I mean, it's not changing the configuration. I don't understand that.
Anyway, we are not putting granite borders on that section of Sherbrooke Street.
Okay, will there be, there's a width of 3 bricks down the perimeter, close to the shoulder of the sidewalk. Will that be maintained? I mean, that thing was done to absorb water and also to maybe make footing a little bit safer. Will that remain?
There are some bricks that are remaining and some areas that are not remaining. You will see all this communication will be put on our website, where all the information about the Sherbrooke Street project will be in the coming days.
Okay, so.
Thank you.
Well, so just to make sure I understand everything correctly,
So
you are
this
not
would be-
reinforcing the edges, and that leaves the
Not
side-
saying that we're not reinforcing the edges. I'm saying that we're not using granite borders on the sidewalks.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you for your questions. The meeting is adjourned.